Welcome back to another edition of the Rodcast, Tuesday edition of the Rodcast. We'll let you know what that means in terms of the musically themed day of the week, one of my favorites. We'll also get to NBA playoff review. One team decided to break out the brooms. We also got the gentleman's sweep against the Lakers. We'll hear from LeBron James about his future with the Lakers. That's what he was asked about after the Denver Nuggets won that series in dramatic fashion once again. We'll also get into a discussion apparently that is being had by the two biggest conferences in major college sports about changing the landscape once again in their regards to their relationship with the players. It's actually this could be a revolutionary transformational decision, but they're just in the opening phases of a discussion about it. But we'll talk about that too coming up a little bit later on in the show. We'll also get to what used to be one of the discounts in the NFL that is no longer the case with a new deal that was signed. We'll talk about that coming up a little bit later on the show. We'll go behind the burnt orange curtain next segment, and we'll talk about the latest odds for the number one overall pick of the 2025 draft. And one Quinn Ewers is getting some love on that list of college football players. So we'll talk about that too coming up when we go behind the burnt orange curtain. There's also a Texas men's basketball transfer portal commit, the transfer portal give it and it take it away. And right now it seems like Coach Rodney Terry is taking a lot of players from the transfer portal to overhaul this roster. So we'll get into that too coming up here in the first segment. So a lot of hoops on the show today, but of course, every day is football season on the Rodcast, and we'll find a way to talk college football. We'll also get some NFL news, notes, and nuggets. Cowboys, they signed a player. We'll get into that. The details of the Zeke signing have also been released, so we'll get into that too coming up a little bit later on in the show. All right, tons to get into. Let's not waste any time. Without further ado, let's introduce the real MVP, the Idealionaire, one of the hardest working members of the ARN family. He's got a hustler spirit, period. We don't know what he's paid, but we're pretty damn sure that he's underpaid. Ain't no 401k for this hustler, and he's a hustle man of many talents. It is my friend, co-host, and neighbor. It's Patrick Davis, y'all. What's going on, Patrick? How you doing, brother?
It's Tuesday. Glad to be here. Got to watch some good basketball last night. We're starting to see the teams separate. Starting to see the teams that look like they're going to actually be competing for the title starting to come out a little bit more. So I was enjoying that yesterday. Some more good games tonight. Going to enjoy watching those as well. But let me introduce you to my co-host. He's a proud alumni of DBU. He's got more papers than Dunder Mifflin and watches more film than Siskel and Ebert. He is the new Rod father of Austin Sports Radio, Mr. Rod Babers.
I appreciate that intro as always. We got a lot to get into, a lot of hoops because Texas men's basketball gets another commitment via the transfer portal. So we'll talk about that. I'm sure my man Patrick's really hype about that. We've been talking a lot of football, so we'll switch it up today and get into some NBA playoff review as well. LeBron James and the Lakers are done. Earliest exit ever for LeBron James. Man, LeBron James has been, was it 20? What are we going on? 22 years?
Yeah, it's been a while.
It's 20. It's been a while. It really is. I want to say, I want to say me and LeBron were drafted like the same year. What was LeBron drafted? 03?
02, I think.
It was at 02? All right, that was 02. It was around the same time. That's what it's always crazy to me. That's
no, it was 03. You're right. I think it's 03.
It was 03. Yeah, it's my bond. My bond with LeBron. My only bond I got with LeBron is that we were drafted in the same year. And look at this dude; he is still playing. That is remarkable. The LeBron James. You know what the most remarkable thing about it, though? He's been playing so long that basically he has basically become the arch nemesis or the rival of like multiple dynastic runs. The Spurs, the Warriors, now the Nuggets in the midst of theirs, right? If they win another one this year, he just and I'll say the Celtics. I don't know if they were on a dynastic run, but they were like his rival. But he's got like 3 of these that he's had to deal with, and I don't know if he'll overcome the Nuggets one. I mean, the Nuggets.
That's the issue. Is before like he's up and coming, the next biggest star when he's starting out, and then he's in the Miami era, and they're the big villains, and he's at his prime. And it's just the fact that he got one with the Lakers And I know some people always want to put asterisks on everything, and you put an asterisk on every single title and every major sports history. If you want to do that, we can find a reason to do it.
I'm a Houston Astros fan, so we get it. Yeah, Houston sports fans. So
like,
trust me, I get
there's
the
always some reason to put one on there.
Or the Rockets. All the Houston teams, we got asterisks everywhere.
I love the Rockets one was, Michael Jordan wasn't there.
Yes.
And you're like, that's not a thing. You can't just say because this guy retired for 2 years that your championships don't count. That's the dumbest. Every one of them.
But you agree, though, they've been tainted in history, though, right?
No.
The Rockets titles?
No. Because,
for you, but now I'm talking about like the public discourse.
No, idiots who only like Michael Jordan and don't watch basketball. Those idiots. If you think there's an asterisk, yeah, you know what? Every title since Wilt Chamberlain, because Wilt Chamberlain retired. So every title after is so stupid. No, you can't.
I agree. Thank you for making a great case. Thank you. I love that passionate case. It is stupid. Thank you, Patrick. God bless you, man. God bless you this morning.
Look, if everyone in the league has the same environment, then there's no asterisk. Everyone had the same.
It's not like they were cheating or anything.
Yeah, and I mean, and this is, look, I'm a Spurs fan that everyone says the 99 was tainted because it was a shortened season. Like, that's not a real one.
You're right.
And you go, well, did everyone have a shortened season, or did they just show up halfway through and they got the same record? No, everyone did. It's the same championship.
I agree. I trust me, man. I would love. I really could get that.
And again,
bottle this.
I'm not a Lakers fan. They go, well, there was the bubble championship. It doesn't count. You're like, but was everybody in the bubble? Yeah, everybody was
in the bubble.
Well, then then they won it.
Then they won it.
That's if the rules are the same for everyone. There's no asterisks.
You can take it away from the Astros if you want.
Yeah, if you want to take away that one in 2017, I get you can put an asterisk on that one. I'm fine with that one. I get because it wasn't the same for everyone. And we can say during the regular season.
One of the Patriots titles, you can do that too. You know, whatever you want to do.
Yeah. If you say the rules were not the same for everyone, then we can change it. But if the rules were the same for everyone, then you don't get to say, well, you know, in reality, George Mikan retired. So everything since George Mikan retired.
Yeah. Oh man, Magic Johnson got HIV.
Yeah.
Everything after that,
all asterisks.
No, I'm with you, brother. I appreciate that. But I recognize, even I've been beaten into submission by that argument over decades. So I'm just like, nah,
dude,
whatever,
it just
whatever.
You do get, you're like, you know, you just go, you do get that you don't know anything. Like, you're making insane arguments. So every achievement you've ever had in your life, I can put an asterisk on now. Every single one. When someone asks you that, just start picking away their achievements. Be like, I don't know. No, because you skipped that one day of school. So you didn't graduate high school. Asterisk. Yeah. No graduate. Take away that. No.
Put it by the marriage and everything.
Oh yeah. Oh man. Remember when I helped you on that one test in college? You don't have a college degree. Asterisk.
Asterisk.
Asterisk on there.
No, put it up there.
Hey, no. Take it out of the frame. Put an asterisk, man. Come on now.
No, man. You know what? That's a great. We should just make that Patrick's rant of the day right there to start off the show. Damn it, that was good. That was money. That was unplanned. That was not in there. We did not. That was not a topic or anything. I just opened the floor up for my man Patrick, and he took it away. That is why he's the real MVP.
That's what happens when you wake me up early and tell me stupid things like that.
Yeah, you're right. But I did not play. But you know what? It is stupid. I agree with you 100%. I don't think anybody's made the argument as articulate as you in such an articulate fashion like you just did. So I'll give you a lot of credit. We need to, like I said, make sure we bottle that for all the idiots who think that the Rockets should have asterisks by their titles.
That's
because
silly.
MJ had retired and then he came back, and it's like, hey, that ain't the Rockets' fault, man. I would have loved to have seen it. I know we're getting off on a tangent here, but I would have loved to have seen the Rockets versus the Bulls. I know we had that discussion before about would the Rockets have still won one of those titles.
I mean, there was also points in that. And we go down this slope of there was all the things happening in the Bulls. The Bulls are at that time where they were kind of falling in the salary cap and all of that. There was a lot going on, but I mean, like, you think the Jazz wouldn't have taken those titles if they could have got them? the Knicks wouldn't have taken those titles. Every single other team is just like, no, we didn't win it that year, so it's an asterisk.
Yeah. I'm with you.
It's ridiculous.
It's a great argument there, brother. All right, we got many more of those throughout the show. I promise you, with some planned ones actually. That was just improvised. Oh man, Patrick. Your text line's wide open 512-447-3776. You also can hit us up via Twitter. My man Patrick at It's Patrick Davis in the Twitterverse. I'm at Rod Babers in the Twitterverse. All right, we'll get you your horn headlines here momentarily. Then we'll come back and discuss some hoops. We'll talk about LeBron James and the Lakers out of the playoffs. We'll also get into some of the other matchups last night, and we'll also talk about the new transfer portal commitment for Texas men's basketball, and then we'll dive into some of the other topics. Go behind the Burn curtain and talk Texas football and those 2025 draft odds to be the number one overall pick. We'll do that because I think there's a Quinn Ewers discussion to be had there. Before we do any of that, though, let's get to the Horn headlines and get updated, educated, and informed with the big headlines of the day.
All right, your Horn headlines brought to you by Top Gun Rentals and Lawn Equipment. Texas baseball will play their final non-conference game of the regular season tonight, facing Sam Houston at Disch-Falk Field. Texas will send Charlie early to the mound in a matchup that the Longhorns have a 10-game winning streak going against their opponent, the Bearcats. Texas will try to keep their hot bats going as they enter the final 3 weeks of the season, currently with 90 home runs so far, which ranks 8th nationally. In the NFL, the Chiefs gave tight end Travis Kelce a significant raise with a new 2-year contract with reportedly worth $34 million. The new deal will make the 34-year-old Travis Kelce the highest-paid tight end in the league and keep him in Kansas City through at least 2027. In the NBA, 2 more teams were sent home with the Oklahoma City Thunder sweeping the Pelicans with a 97-89 win where they outscored the Pelicans 27-18 in the fourth quarter. And the Nuggets finished off the Lakers with Jamal Murray playing through a calf injury to score 32 points and hit the game-winning jumper to end the Lakers season. Celtics also dominated their matchup with the Heat, winning 102-88 and taking a commanding 3-1 series lead. However, they did lose Kristaps Porzingis to a calf injury in the first half. Tonight, the 76ers will try to keep their season alive against the Knicks. The Magic and Cavs face off with their series again tied at 2-2. And the Pacers will look to take advantage of a beat-up Bucks team with Giannis, Lillard, and Middleton, all a game-time decision in a series the Pacers lead 3-1. In Major League Baseball, the Astros and Rangers are both back in action today with Houston beginning their series against the Guardians, with Hunter Brown looking to get his first win of the season. And the Rangers kick off their series with the Nationals, pregame starting at 6:30 right here on the Horn. And that is your Horn headlines.
All right, thank you, Patrick, for the Horn headlines. We appreciate your efforts and your energy all the time and your work ethic, because Patrick does a lot around here. He got a lot of hats that he wears. Let's get to the Texas basketball commit first, and then we'll talk NBA playoffs and review that. Texas gets another one. This time, a Vanderbilt transfer guard, Malik Presley, who's actually returning to Texas. I would love to see, maybe I have to do it, but damn it, I don't have enough time. I'd love to see a breakdown. I know one of these big entities like On3 or 247 Sports could do it because they have transfer portal databases they can do this stuff with. How many of these guys end up going back to their state where they played high school football or their home state? High school basketball.
Yeah, high school sports.
High school sports, yes.
Yeah.
Because it seems to me, at least maybe it just feels like Texas, but it seems to me like a lot of these guys, once they hit the transfer portal, they seek familiarity. They seek going, seek some type of connection. And a lot of times that connection is back home, or at least a university that's close to home. And here's another one, because this young man, I believe, is a San Marcos product. And Malik Presley came out as a 3-star originally, ended up at Vanderbilt, and he is transferring a 6'6", 200-pound guard who has 3 seasons of eligibility remaining. Patrick, what are your thoughts about the addition of Malik Presley coming in from Vanderbilt?
So Malik Presley, and again, I'll say this, with the people coming back to where they come from, that happens a lot just in college, even without sports. You'll see that a lot.
That's true. Good point.
You see it, people just leave, and they're like, man, I can't wait to get away from my parents and get away. And then they realize, like, well, I got away from my friends too and everything. I'd like to get back closer to where I'm at.
That's fair.
So it just happens. And for Malik Presley, he was somebody that was recruited by Chris Beard in 2022 as well, and decides to go to Vanderbilt. This is a transfer that maybe not pay off a ton next season. He's a guy that didn't play a ton of minutes for Vanderbilt last season, just a freshman last season. Going to go into a lineup that's going to have some good players. But what he does bring is he's 6'6", he's long, he's athletic. So he is somebody that can kind of play in that guard forward position, that if they can get his defensive game up a little bit, I think they're going to try and use him a little bit more as someone who can be long and come in and give him a few minutes off the bench to try and just get them, in especially early in the season, get them a little bit of rest and try and help defend some of those teams, especially non-conference where they're not as big. You can put his frame with his length and his size and be able to get there. But I don't know if he's going to play a ton of minutes this year. You never know, because it could be, we Kendall Weaver is a perfect example of somebody that you really did not think was going to play any minutes this season. coming, basically not recruited, going to UT Arlington, and then, becomes a starter at a point in the season for the Longhorns. So you never know. Maybe he comes in and his progress over the offseason was great. Maybe Jerry Stackhouse wasn't using him correctly in Vanderbilt. It's a good addition. You have scholarships to give. You want to bring in young guys to the team. But I don't know if he's an immediate impact player for Texas, just because, again, Rodney Terry likes to play a 7 to 8 man rotation. He doesn't really play a lot of players, especially down the stretch. And so he's probably not going to be in that rotation. But you need those young guys. You need depth. You need to be able to bring it in. And if you have 13 scholarships, it's really, why would you not use all 13? You're not bringing any other recruits. So you might as well go out and get some other guys. So it's a good pickup. They also are still going to have to figure out Regis Petrides, the guy we talked about from Air Force, decided to go to Cal over the weekend. So he will not be going to Texas. He went to Cal where Stojakovic also went. I think he realized he's probably going to be in the starting lineup in Cal. And he was not going to be in the start. He was going to be fighting for more playing time at Texas.
It's usually the purpose of the portal.
And so I get why he went. So, but that's where he is going. And then I saw on Instagram last night, Brandon Garrison, the 6'11" center that played for Oklahoma State last year, true freshman last season. He said he's making his decision today at noon. So that is a big one for Texas. That is coming down to, most people believe, Texas and Oklahoma. He did just visit Arkansas and Coach Calipari, so he did just make that trip, but they just brought in a transfer center from Tennessee, I do, who we played against in the tournament. So it's unlikely that he would go there. I think at Texas, he has a little bit more of a shot between him and Shedrick, that he kind of can go in and get a little bit more of a competition and play. And then it would be his after the season. So it'll be curious to see, but he'll make his decision, it looks like, around noon. And then depending on what Garrison does, if he comes, they have one more scholarship. If he doesn't, they really need to go out and get another big or two, and then they'll have one scholarship left that you'd like to see. You probably want to try and bring in a wing if you can, but that's what we'll see what they'll try and go after. I think they were kind of waiting on that Regis Petrides decision, and now they're waiting on the Brandon Garrison before they can go out and start offering to some other people, because again, you only have 13, so you have to figure out who you're going to
offer, guys.
And Malik Presley might have been one that was kind of on that edge, and when we saw Petrides go somewhere else, they said, okay, you're in, because now we know we've offered to somebody else. Or but that one happened a lot quicker. That was not a that was one that was a little bit, but he's been there, he's visited, he'd already met, he knows Rodney Terry because he was already talking with Texas a couple of years ago. He's from San Marcos, so he knows the Texas program well enough. But yeah, he's one that, you'll be excited to see early in the season. But Malik Presley is not someone that I would say is most likely going to be in the rotation. But you never know. You never know.
Yeah. And also something else that I've said now about the new era of recruiting and the transfer portal era in every sport. It's recruit to the whistle, as my man Jerry Hamilton always says. It's never been more important to finish second or third in recruiting and make a good impression, and to be a gracious loser, right? Be like, hey, you know what? It's okay, young man. You're still gonna be great. You're gonna be awesome. You know what I mean? Like, hey, one day me and you we need to hook up again. I think it's fate. I think one day the gods are gonna bring us back together. Like you need to finish. Like it's hard to, when somebody break up with you, to be gracious in that moment. You basically need to be gracious while they break up with you. And you need to be grateful, because there are 50% chance now that young man, young woman will be in the portal, and they'll think, oh man, I used to love Coach. I had a really good time with them. And where are they now? Even if you're not at the same place, they may come to you and go, you know what? Coach has actually got a promotion. He's at this spot now. You know what? I think I might just go play for him or play for her, because I like that.
Oh, coach. Yeah. And I mean, and you even say that, and I mean, you're talking about guys that, you talk to, that you may not have scholarships for when they come out of high school, and it's a 3-star, that you think the potential is very high. If they have a little growth spurt or something like that, maybe we could bring somebody in. Those guys happen a lot, and you have a relationship with them already, and basically you have the relationship of, yeah, man, if you go prove it, when we have a scholarship open up, we'd love to have you back. It's just not going to happen right now. And then you'll see some of those guys get brought into programs when they excel wherever they're at and get a little bit more playing time. That's you've seen that happen a little bit, especially Rodney Terry. That's one with Texas will have guys come in and we just don't have the spot for you right now, but go learn something else.
You know what's happening though? It's a cheat code, and it's happening at places like Texas that are highly affluent and have sugar daddies and sugar mamas who are willing, who are dedicated to the program and want to support the programs. They're able to supplement now student athletes without scholarships to say, hey man, we'll just give you a nice NIL deal.
Yeah.
It won't, it won't be a scholarship per se. But it'll be enough to supplement, pay for all the stuff you need, give you a little spending money. And so won't you come here as a walk on with a preferred walk on with a NIL deal. And you can add a really good extra player that way,
Yeah,
right?
you can.
And you can do that in all the sports. And Texas, I'm not saying I know it, but that's something behind the scenes that has been that they've been working on ways to do that for other sports. And it's not illegal or anything. It's just I know a lot of people they may not like that advantage for Texas, but because it's an advantage everybody can do. Everybody can basically put an NIL deal to supplement a scholarship for a student athlete, like a really good player through the portal. But Texas can do that.
Yeah, I mean that's for for basketball. You don't really have to do that too much. You get 13 scholarships. You're playing probably 10 guys mostly throughout the season, so you'll always have a little bit more. Football, that's a little bit better because you can bring in special teams players and guys like that maybe down the line a little bit of extra offensive line help, things like that you can keep bringing in that depth. Baseball, I'm sure it's very important to be able to get extended pitching staffs or extended hitters that you can kind of get ready and start teaching things maybe a year before you really want to give them that scholarship. But it's an interesting piece in NIL where if you have the ability to do it, and I think it's only going to get more and more likely that you're able to pull off stuff like that as the landscape changes.
Yeah, it's a separation of the have and have-nots even more. All right, let's talk about the haves and the have-nots in the NBA playoffs. The Lakers, they are have-nots at this point. They are out. The earliest exit for a LeBron James team. And LeBron James, we'll play this audio. He was asked about his future, which we'll get into. But, man, once again, Jamal Murray, this dude, okay, he was advised by management not to play because he's dealing with a strained left calf. So they advised him not to play. He's been injured all season. I don't know if it was that, but he's missed like 23 games this season. So he's missed a lot of games this season. It's been one of those seasons. And he said, no, I refused. He said, and he's glad that management, allowed him to play, even though they disagreed with him going out there. And dude puts up 32 points and hits another game winner in this series. Dude, if you're Jokic, it's got to be good to have that kind of player as the second star player on your team. He's your Robin, but he can step up at any time and play the role of Batman or the Dark Knight if need be. And Jokic was great. I mean, Jokic 25 points, 20 rebounds. I mean, he almost had a triple. There's one assist shy of a triple double, so he was his usually awesome self. He had 7 turnovers, uncharacteristically of Jokic, but you can just kind of sit back and let that guy take over and trust that he can take over the game. And not only that, he can take over the game in clutch time and take the burden off for you.
No, and it's Jamal Murray he's a special kind of player. That's the debate that's been going around. Is he the best player to not ever be an all-star? Which and the reality of that is he's normally hurt during the regular season, and that's one of the reasons why he's not been an all-star. Is he's very injury prone, and he's been able to pull it together in the playoffs. But that's kind of one of the reasons why he's never been an all-star. Is his stats aren't great going in because he sits a lot early in the season. But you see what he can do in this game and playing through, and it's just that when you need to have that other option other than Jokic, because even in this, you saw them try and help out as much as they can. That's the turnovers is coming over and trying to poke the ball away when Jokic is just holding it. So to have a Jamal Murray that can take the ball and make the defense reset and make the defense try and guard another player, as opposed to everything running through Jokic and him trying to either score or get the ball out for a catch and shoot. You have another person who can create. It makes that Denver Nuggets, that team, that he's the reason why he's the X factor of why this Nuggets team can continue to win championships going forward. Is if he's healthy and he's playing at a really high level, then that 1-2 punch of the best center in the league and the best player in the league probably still in Jokic. And then you add in every time you start to try and just go down on him and double and not give him in position, that you put in another guy who just gets the ball and can create. And if you can't double off of him, and sometimes you have to double over on Jamal Murray, it becomes extremely hard to guard. And the Lakers just didn't really have an answer if Murray played well. And I mean, they played him well enough defensively.
It was 16 lead changes. It was, I mean, Lakers were competitive.
No, and I mean, he shot 13 for 28, so it's not like Murray was just on that he was dominating, but he was 5 for 10 from 3, so he was able to put up points when he needed enough. He hits the game winner as well. So all those pieces put together, just knows how to get it done in the playoffs. And it was, again, the Nuggets, when it mattered, coming through and just finishing the game off, and the Lakers just couldn't get it done down the stretch.
Yeah, the basically the Nuggets trailed for like 70+% of this series. And like you said, they would just flip the switch, turn it on in clutch time, take over the game. They did it again, by the way. I mean, they were down like 9, and then they had a 21-10 run, I believe, like right in the to take like an 81-79 lead, I think, in the fourth quarter. And then, of course, in clutch time, they find a way because Jamal Murray hits the game winner.
Yeah, so, the stat was 165 minutes that the Lakers led, and 59 they were behind.
Wow.
So
that's that's disheartening if you're the Lakers.
Yeah.
I mean, that because you played, you didn't play a bad series at all. They played a subpar series for their standard, and yet you still couldn't pull it off. You found a way to win one. You want out of their last 12 games they played against?
Yes, so last 12, and I don't know going further back than that. I know it was 11-0. They won 11 straight. And then the Lakers won one, but they're 12.
So maybe it's out of the last. So you're right about that. Yeah. Anyway, but my point is, do we have this LeBron audio here? Because LeBron, he was asked a question that seemed like it made him uncomfortable, actually, which you thought he'd been ready for. But maybe, you know what? I would say this though: he's a competitor, and LeBron wasn't thinking this was going to be the end of his season. So he was probably, and LeBron, by the way, played well. He had 30 points, 11 assists. AD probably could have had more offensive, probably could have had a little bit more offensive efficiency and more of an offensive impact, but he did have 17 points, 15 rebounds. But LeBron was asked in the post game after they lost to Denver, what's his future look like with the Lakers?
Tonight, was there any thought at all that, this could have been your last game with the Lakers?
I'm not going to answer that. Appreciate it.
Awkward silence.
He actually get up and walks out of the. So I'm sure that was like the last question. I mean, it was like, hey, last question, and maybe that was the last question. But he literally got up and it was very awkward. But LeBron James likes awkward sometimes. But what are your thoughts? I mean, I don't think LeBron James is retiring. He's not going to retire like that.
No, I don't think so either. And I also don't think he's going to walk out with his son coming into the league.
You think he's going to be with the Lakers though? Because Lakers, I think that's the question. Because I'm not thinking he's retiring at all.
So I think Lakers. I think he wants to return to the Lakers, but I think he wants certain things done to return to the Lakers, and he knows full well that if he says, "Oh, I expect to be back next year," then in negotiations and all of that, and it'll be. People will construe it that if he takes more money, then he's hamstringing the franchise and he shouldn't take the money. And if they draft Bronny, it's only so everything they're doing. But this is all, if you're LeBron James, if you want to go somewhere else, you're not going to get the money you can get from the Lakers because the Lakers already have you signed. They can go over the cap to keep you. They will pay you to stay in LA. They're going to help you. I don't know if he wants to get Darvin Ham fired. LeBron sometimes wants to change coaches. There's been talk that Darvin Ham is on the hot seat, so it could be a change that he wants to bring in a different coach. It could be that he wants, changes in the roster, or that he wants, to make sure they draft his son. All of those pieces could be in it, or it could just be contract negotiations, and he could honestly not know what he wants to do next and wants to evaluate because he was worried about the season and he's thought about it for sure. But you don't want to walk out and go, I'd really love to go back to Miami, or I'd really, I want to finish my career in Cleveland, or I want to go play with this ex superstar wherever. I don't, you don't want to say, you don't say that in your post game press conference.
You don't say the quiet part out loud. You don't say the quiet part out loud. Yeah.
Look, man, I'm in my uniform. I'm about to go hang. Like I'm going to go see this team. You mean to walk out here and be like, nah, screw these guys, I'm out. and then walk back and this Austin Reeves is just staring at you. I get I think that, it's one of those
question
questions.
must be asked, though. You have to ask the question. That guy, that's part of his job.
It's the guy's job to ask the question, and LeBron's not going to answer it. So
but you still got to. You know that you've been.
I agree.
You're like,
that's what I'm saying.
Ask the question.
It's one of those ones you have to ask, and it's like when you don't ask that question is like time 3. When he's already said twice, I'm not going to tell you. You don't have to ask it a third time.
Yeah.
Because now that's not.
I don't think anybody. I think they waited till the end to ask it. Anyway.
Exactly. So you're fine asking it there, but yeah, I don't think anyone who's followed LeBron's career, I don't think you were really expecting a big answer there. I mean, this is a guy who held off and did an entire show to announce where he was going in free agency at one point. He's not someone that necessarily just lets it slip out what he does.
Could bring the
I'm just saying he doesn't let stuff slip. Let's put it that way.
No, he's very calculated. And very deliberate.
Yeah.
And in the stuff that he does, which actually upsets people because they think he is kind of orchestrated a lot of stuff instead of being kind of natural and authentic. But when you're the face of the league, you can't just freestyle and improvise everything, man. You need to, make sure that you got your ducks in order.
When you want to win, you normally don't sit back and be passive and hope people help you win.
No, LeBron James has done a great job of being able to. Now, there's a LeBron James, I think, hangover effect after you win a title. But when he terraforms teams when he comes there, and he terraforms them into champions. So you can't really deny it. It's all worth it when you win a championship, no matter what you risk for.
He wants to win. He doesn't care about it. Like he wants to win, and so he's going to create the best chance for himself to win. And if the franchise afterwards, is bombed out. So be it.
But I'm going. You got your title. I promise you a title. Yeah. You got your title.
And, so I'm going to go, and everywhere he's went, he's got a title.
Yeah. So you can't complain about the cost of a title. You can't. Once the title is, you can't complain. That's why the Rams fans like, no, we don't complain about the cost of a title. Who gives a damn about them picks? No, get us. The whole point of the picks is to get a title. The whole point of all this is to get a title. You get a title. Who gives a damn the price you got to pay for it? I'm all about that. Yeah, don't cheat or anything. People like, you're an Astros fan. Now I'm talking about cheating. I'm talking about like within the rules. All right. Anyway, within the rules. Okay, let's get good conversation. Let's get to the break so we can get behind the burnt orange curtain. There are odds about who's going to be the number 1 overall pick in the 2025 NFL draft. And Quinn Ewers is getting a little bit of love. We'll talk about what his odds are of being the top pick in next year's NFL draft. We'll also play some audio of the Longhorns who already have been drafted, already hard at work. We'll get into that and more right here on the Rodcast featuring Patrick Davis. I'm Lifetime Longhorn Rod Davis coming back on the horn. All right, let's get to some Texas football discussion. So I saw this story yesterday. Some pretty interesting stories. So the DraftKings odds for the 2025 NFL draft came out, and they have the odds for who's going to be the first overall pick in the upcoming NFL draft, the number one overall pick. And like I said, I was a little surprised, but Shadur Sanders actually has the best odds right now, overall odds to win. To win, but it would be essentially a win to be the number one overall pick in the NFL draft in 2025. He is followed by the next shortest odds or best odds is a tie for Carson Beck at Georgia and Quinn Ewers at Texas, both at plus 300. Shadur is at plus 100, and Carson Beck and Quinn Ewers are both at plus 300 with the best odds to be the first overall pick in the 2024 NFL draft. Yeah, likely, basically, if you're the best quarterback coming out, you're going to be the top pick. Is what
yeah, I mean, we saw what happened this year's draft. I mean,
oh, yeah, exactly. Teams are going to reach for it.
Yeah, I mean, what was the consensus that everybody said that day two quarterbacks are dead? That you're either a first rounder, you're a late rounder. There's no more middle ground anymore.
There's no middle class of quarterback anymore.
No, that's what everybody says is, look, no one's waiting on a quarterback anymore. You're either a first rounder and I mean, I know Will Levis was one last year, so I don't think that's fully true. But
but I'm with you though. I do think that that's happening though, because teams are so desperate that you're like, man, if you have any type of elite traits, it's gonna push you toward the first round.
Yeah. And teams are so desperate, and everyone's so desperate to find a quarterback that people are going to take it. And every year there's at least 6 or 7 teams that either want a quarterback for the future, that they need one in like 2 years or a year, or there's someone who needs them right now. So there's always going to be somebody who feels they got to get one. And there's usually not 6 good quarterbacks. So
no, you're right about that. I'll say the one thing that is just nerve-wracking though. I know the NFL it's a quarterback desperate league. There's no doubt. Quarterback thirsty teams. And yet the Lamar Jackson thing just still boggles my mind that this dude, he was made available to go talk to teams, and all it would have taken was 2 first-round picks, and then you'd have to pay him, but you got to pay your quarterback anyway. I mean, that's just when you get a big-time quarterback, you got to pay him. Everybody knows that. And 2 first-round picks for a franchise quarterback, honestly, seems pretty low considering how much teams pay just to trade up in the draft to get their quarterbacks and position themselves. And that dude was made available. And not only did I think only 2 teams actually talk to him. That was Carolina and Las Vegas. You had teams like Washington, Atlanta, like the Jets, New England, New Orleans, who wouldn't even have a conversation with Lamar Jackson. And he wins MVP his second. He was an MVP then when he was made available. And teams were so desperate, they're willing to reach for a J.J. McCarthy and reach on a Bo Nix and reach for all the help. Reach for Michael Penix if you want to throw that out there too. Atlanta, prime example. Atlanta, you spent $180 million on a aging Kirk Cousins coming off an injury, and then spent the 8th overall pick on an aging quarterback coming out of the draft, Michael Penix, who I like, by the way, who also is injury prone. And I'm thinking to myself, what are the reasons that teams wouldn't talk to Lamar Jackson? They kept saying, "Oh, too injury prone." And these dudes they've guaranteed like $80 million to Kirk Cousins coming off the injury with Father Time just wailing on this dude. That I don't understand. So, yes, you are right. Teams are really desperate for quarterbacks. But what the hell was that? To me, if that's not a proof of collusion, I don't know what is. Y'all did not want Lamar Jackson negotiating his own deal. Y'all did not want him to do that successfully. And you didn't want him to manipulate the quarterback market successfully. They didn't want that. So if the agents, the teams, everybody was against Lamar Jackson, you can't prove to me otherwise, because it doesn't make sense to me then. After watching this draft, why Lamar Jackson why there wasn't more interest in him, I should say that.
No, I'm with you. I mean, look, the Patriots drafted 2 quarterbacks.
Yes.
He drafted 2 in the same draft.
It's like, what? Yeah, exactly. Come on.
People do not care about picking up quarterbacks, and I get it was a lot of money. There was a rumor that he wanted fully guaranteed, and no one wants to give out the fully guaranteed. But he didn't get fully guaranteed, so you probably could. You should have still offered a non-fully guaranteed, and maybe Baltimore would have just matched it because they could have, I believe, matched it out of that
they
as
could have
well.
matched it.
But I would have called Baltimore and been like, okay, this is what we'll give you the trade. We'll give you 3 first. We'll still get him.
Still, that's So you're right. The NFL, you're right about that. I love that theory though. There is a divide now. If you have anything close to an elite trait, teams they're gonna risk it for you. They'll just risk it.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's not just my theory. This is a I've read this multiple times over the week. That multiple people are saying the day 2 quarterback is dead. That it is basically all about the first rounders and the late rounders. But because we also saw like Spencer Rattler and Jordan Travis and the kid from Tulane, Michael Pratt, all those kids dropped out of day 2 into day 3 as well.
Yeah.
Where there was questions that maybe they were second, third round picks, they all drop down into day 3 because we got to pick up all our other stuff now. Now we can wait on a quarterback. We don't care as much.
No, I agree with that. I like that theory there too. To continue with these number 1 overall QB odds, they got Jalen Milroy plus 950. I think it's between those top 3 of the quarterbacks. I don't necessarily think Jalen Milroy is not any sophisticated, elite enough passer to be. And he's a really good athlete, but he's not like Michael Vick or anything. He's like Cam Newton at the quarterback position. So I don't think he'll be the number 1 overall pick, but there you go. So Quinn Ewers should be in a discussion. One thing that worries me about Quinn, though, and I brought this up before, and shout out to my man Matt Buller because he sent me. My man Matt does a great job. He has now he's got a fantasy podcast too, which I'm telling you guys should check it out. I'll give you some details about it too, but it's really good. But he was sending me some numbers on Quinn Ewers' pressure to sack rate. This is something that Quinn's got to work on. NFL scouts have brought it up a couple of times behind the scenes that they're a little troubled with his pressure to sack rate. That's how often you end up sacked, compared to how often that you are pressured as a quarterback. And last season, his pressure to sack percentage was I think around 24%, which is pretty high. Shadir Sanders is at if you go look at overall, he's at 20 for his career, 21%. For Quinn Ewers' career, he's at 20.7%. For his career, he's actually doing pretty good. But unfortunately, like last year, that number rose for Quinn. It actually increased last year to around 24%. So that's something to watch. He's got to handle pressure better. NFL scouts want to see him because one thing that he does, and I've talked about this, he looks at the pressure instead of feeling the pressure. You want to be able to look downfield, keep your eyes downfield so you can get through the progressions. Don't stare and look at the pressure because once you do, you can't see anything else. You won't be able to focus on anything else but that dude barreling down on you. You got to keep your eyes downfield and feel the pressure. This is what they call pocket science. Being able to still work your way through the pocket, find space in the pocket, and keep your eyes downfield. And like Penix, remember we always said feel the pressure. And that's what so sack avoidance and working on his pocket science. I think what he's got to work on. Yeah, here are the numbers for Quinn Ewers. He had, in 2022, his pressure to sack rate was 13.9, which was great. I mean, it's like, oh, that's really good. And in 2023, it rose to 25.2%. It's a hell of an increase. Now, Shadir Sanders also gets sacked a lot too. His he had a career high pressure to sack rate of 25% as well last season. So this is a big year for Quinn. That number's got to go down. His pressure to sack rate. It's got to go down. It's got to go down for Shadir Sanders too. That's why the reason they had a new OC because he was getting sacked a lot.
Yeah,
and he was throwing the ball away actually a lot. So his sack numbers would have been even higher. But you go watch him. He wouldn't throw it away as much. And later in the season, he started throwing it away a little bit more. But he's a quarterback that moves around better than Quinn Ewers. So both of those guys, but for Quinn Ewers specifically, you're just talking close to home, that number's got to go down for him. And I think just watching him for me, Patrick, it's because he identifies the pressure by seeing it. He stares at it, which inevitably will take your eyes away from the downfield passing game. And I think that's why he scrambled more last year because he would see it. And his second reaction was just scramble and get the hell out of there. Sark wants to see him stay in the pocket and find space in the pocket, get deeper into the progressions, and then be able to make the throws downfield. In order to do that, he's got to be able to feel pressure a little bit better. And some quarterbacks do it naturally better than others. He doesn't do it naturally really well, but that's got to improve for him. That's one of the areas the main areas he's got to improve on.
Yeah, if he can figure out a way to, it's that innate feel, and we've talked about it before, I don't know how you practice it. I don't know what you do
it's tough to practice
to try and improve that, but I'm sure there's people that have, methods that they swear by, and he'll be trying to do all those during
They got
the
virtual reality stuff now. I'm not making this. They got virtual reality,
Yeah.
like AI, like things that you can put on and use, and they actually can simulate pressure.
Yeah.
And stuff, and the game plan. So that may be a way to do it too. I'm sure Texas would have access to that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
they might already have it.
And if Texas doesn't, he can afford to go do it.
Yeah, you can get an NIL deal. You got an NIL deal with a private jet company. You can get an NIL deal with a virtual reality simulator.
Yeah, exactly. And even if you don't have the NIL deal, you can afford to do it. those other NIL deals can afford to pay for this thing to allow you to get better.
That is very true.
It's something that's a little different about today's game, which is great for the players, is they can afford to spend their money on their own training in the off season and times like that, where before that was not necessarily the case. You go back to your high school maybe and work out there,
get some workout in,
and do stuff like that. But now it's, hey man, I can go to the best training facilities and work with NFL players now and try and get better and better. But it's a different world.
Yeah. No, you're right about that. Comparisons to pressure to sack rate before we get out of here. Jalen Muro, he's at 31.9 for his career. His pressure to sack percentage, not good at all. Just because you're mobile, just because you can move, does not mean you're going to be good at avoiding sacks. That's why Patrick Mahomes is amazing at it. He's great. A lot of times the mobile guys, they are some of the guys who actually are the worst at sack avoidance. So it's not necessarily always connected to your mobility as a quarterback, but you need functional mobility. But like I said, the career for Quinn, just career is 20.7. But like I said, last year, from year 2 to year 3, there was a huge leap from 13% to 25% pressure to sack rate. That is, I think, an identifier that he may not handle pressure really well. He's got to improve on that. Dylan Gabriel's at 18.9% for his career. Carson Beck's at 12.2%, just to give you a little context on it. All right, we come back. Let's get into the big fat poll of the day on the other side. We'll also get into the musically themed day of the week. It's one of my favorites, and all of that and more when we come back right here on the Rodcast featuring Patrick Davis. I'm lifetime Longhorn Rod Davis coming back on the horn. Hey, what's up, folks? Lifetime Longhorn Rod Babers here. Austin is a great city. It's actually one of the best cities in the country, which is why you have a lot of traffic. People keep moving to Austin, so the traffic gets a little bit worse, but it's worth it because there's so many great things to enjoy about this city. The food is fantastic. The music is great. The people are great. Honestly, the city itself, the iconic landmarks in the city that make it so unique. And what you may not know is that many of the iconic landmarks in this city, they were actually created and built by the skilled craftsmanship of Ironworkers Local Union 482. Take the Pennybacker Bridge or DKR Stadium. Both actually were constructed by our good friends at Ironworkers Local 482. And right now they're constructing another big project, a huge one right here in Central Texas. And they need your help. Right now they're hiring over 3,000 people for a huge project right here in Central Texas. And they're offering competitive wages, competitive benefits, a pension plan. They even offer training through their apprenticeship program for unskilled labor. So if you're thinking about an employment opportunity or an exciting employment opportunity, a refreshing career change, or maybe you want a new challenge, or maybe you want to feel valued by your employer, you can become a valued member of this prestigious organization, Ironworkers Local Union 482. Right now it's the perfect time to do it, and you can become a member and take pride in the type of teamwork and craftsmanship that helps shape the future of our great city. So head online today and right now, and I'll go apply at ironworkers482.org. That's ironworkers482.org.
Back in the Rodcast on a Tuesday morning. That means it's a top of the charts Tuesday where I'll play you music by bands that had number one hit singles on this day in history. Kicking it off with the Young Rascals. Good Lovin'. Kicking you off on a top of the charts Tuesday. And that'll lead us in to the big fat poll of the day. Text line is open. 512-447-3776.
Patrick's Big Fat Poll of the Day on the Horn.
All right, big fat poll of the day. This one's a little silly, but we'll go with it. Last night, WWE was in Kansas City for Raw, and that means they had a bunch of Chiefs out there, including Patrick Mahomes. Patrick Mahomes that was there. But then Patrick Mahomes was a part of the show. And it was in the beginning and throughout it, and I was seeing all this stuff pop up about him, that he was there. But the thing was, he was hanging out with the bad guys.
Yeah, I like that.
He ends up giving his Super Bowl rings to Logan Paul, who is a wrestler now, and went up there. And
the Paul brothers just everywhere.
And Logan Paul puts on the rings to knock a guy out with them, and like a loaded punch, and did all this, and it was a whole. And then there was a part where a wrestler was going to go beat him up, but his offensive lineman stood up around him, so he couldn't get to him. They did all this, but it was weird because it's in Kansas City. So the crowd is going nuts for Patrick Mahomes. But then he's with the bad guys. Then I found they said later was Logan Paul has Prime brand and like a drink.
Okay.
And Patrick Mahomes is one of the he's one of the endorsers. And so it was all a paid for thing. Like that was why he was the bad guy and with Logan Paul, because it was all about the Prime Energy drink.
Yeah, because they know they're gonna cheer for Patrick Mahomes no matter what he does.
Exactly.
It
was just a weird
slapping
thing.
Babies around, they'd be like, Patrick Mahomes.
But yeah, it was just a weird thing to see this guy who's not really. He's hated as a really good player, but not a guy that you would think is like, no, that's a bad guy. This guy, he's like, it's not. He's kind of dorky.
No. He is not a natural villain, but like I said, dude, LeBron James was never a natural villain. He was an unintentional villain.
Yes.
And he ended up, but you're right, for Patrick Mahomes, he'll never, you know what? I will say this. It's a great quote from The Dark Knight, right? You either die a hero or live long enough to become a villain. Patrick Mahomes will get to the point, because we never thought it would happen to the Golden State Warriors either, or the Astros for that matter. Now, the Astros, they were their own worst enemy. They cheated. But there'll be one point where people get so sick of you winning that you'll naturally become a villain. And that's about to happen with Kansas City, especially adding Xavier Worthy, and the Taylor Swift thing. It's about to happen to them, because they're about to become dynastic, that people are going to start hating them just for that reason.
So, but this leads to the question, big fat poll of the day. Which current athlete would make the best bad guy wrestler?
So
we know it's not Patrick Mahomes, at least not right now. He did not pull it off. Did not really work. But so which current athlete could you see coming out and be like, that guy, I hate that guy? I think LeBron's in the conversation at this point.
Draymond Green is probably
Draymond's in there.
Yeah, Draymond Green's in that conversation. I don't know why the basketball guys are coming up. Should go with football, but yeah.
But Micah Parsons?
Micah Parsons would be good. He talks a lot. So maybe, promos would be good.
He's a cowboy, which will pretty much get you hated everywhere in the country except for Dallas.
True. Yeah.
And if you don't win in Dallas.
No, you're right about that. I like that. That's a good question. That's a good one. That's really good.
Maybe Bryce Harper in baseball.
Bryce Harper does have one of those looks like that. No, I like this. This is good. Because I want to go deep down the rabbit hole on this. I'm probably overthinking it.
That's what I'm saying. It's not too much.
You can go personality, or you can go, body type, big, that kind of thing. I'm going more personality. I like guys who can cut a promo, man.
Because you get a big guy, and if they're not just naturally hateable and go out, they can't be a bad guy. You could be a wrestler, but you can't be the best bad guy like that guy. And that was what Patrick Mahomes came out, and he's too dorky and too not like. There's nothing about the guy that makes you think like that's a guy. I want to see him get beat up. You just go, I want to see him lose, but I don't want to see someone just rip it. Like I don't want to see him get beat up. And it's got to be someone you want to see get their comeuppance and in a physical way. And Patrick Mahomes, I just don't want to see him win anymore. But I don't necessarily want to see him get beat up.
No, it's a good one. Yeah, you're right about that. That's interesting. No, it's good. It's a good question. Good question. Draymond Green's the first one that I thought of. It's just like he just jumps. I don't know if there's anybody in sports that people want to see get punched more than Draymond Green.
Yeah,
being a villain.
and I mean, we just know that he would just sneak attack everybody.
Sneak attack. He fight dirty.
Fight dirty.
I mean? He definitely got distracting the ref or something while he pulls some trick. He hit something in his trunks or in his face. He's that guy. He would be. He's got the person. Have a perfect wrestler. Man. He's like, what? I didn't do anything. What are you talking about? Yeah, man, he would be great. All right, that's a good question. Once again, the big fat poll today. So, which current athlete would make the best villain as a wrestler?
Yes.
Best heel.
Yes.
In the wrestling realm. Oh man, that is, like I said, that's really good. That's good. All right, we'll come back. We'll discuss that. We'll get into it a little bit because now the wheels are turning. We'll get into that on the other side. We'll also talk about this conversation that is happening between the Big Ten and the SEC. We talk about the separation of the have and the have-nots. Ladies and gentlemen, we could be on the verge of something huge that could change college sports forever. And we'll probably to make it almost unrecognizable. We'll talk about that and discuss it on the other side. We'll also get into Rod's rant of the day. What used to be the best bargain, or one of the best bargains in the NFL, that is no longer the case. We'll discuss it on the other side. All that and more right here on the Rodcast featuring Patrick Davis. I'm Lifetime Longhorn Rod Babers coming back on the horn. Welcome back to the Rodcast. It is a top of the charts Tuesday. Thanks to my man Patrick, the Idealionaire. He comes up with all the musically themed days of the week. We are very grateful for it. Always puts me in a good mood. Love top of the charts Tuesday, the most eclectic day of the musically themed days of the week. When my man Patrick plays jams that reach the top of the Billboard charts on this day in history. Man, Jackson 5 still jams.
Still jams.
That's wild. That's crazy that it still jams.
I mean, that song called ABC can still jam.
Right?
You know,
what year was this? What year was this?
1970.
Wow. That's wow. 57 years still. I mean, it is still jams. I mean, it really does. I mean, I was just kind of in the zone there listening to it. I was like, wow, it's been a minute. Jamming Jackson 5. There you go. Jackson 5.
Just wait till we discussed it. One day I'm going to bring in the top of the charts Tuesday of all the not great number ones.
Yeah, the non-bangers.
The non-bangers. One day I'll do that.
I would love that, actually. You should do that, because I know you sort through it, and we get, these number one hits. It's like, oh, man, of course. That's why I love Top Chart Tuesday, because they're all bangers. Right? They're almost a consensus. People love these songs. At least the majority of Americans love them. But yeah, play those outliers. Those ones like, how the hell did this get to number one? What part of the country is jamming this song all the time? I would love for that little kind of that obtuse version of a Top of the Charts Tuesday. We can get that coming up a little bit later on this year. All right, we'll get to the Horn headlines here. We do have a Raj rant. What used to be a bargain in the NFL is no longer a bargain for this team. We'll talk about that. We'll also get into this college football story, which could be really interesting. The Big Ten and the SEC are plotting. We'll discuss what those plots are all about. And we'll also get into there's an update on the college football video game, about the cover of it. We got time. We'll get to that too. But let's not waste any time. Let's get updated. Let's get educated and informed with the Horn headlines of the day with my man, Patrick Davis.
All right, your Horn headlines brought to you by Top Gun Rentals and Lawn Equipment. Texas baseball will play their final non-conference game of the regular season tonight, facing Sam Houston at Dish-Falk Field. Texas will send Charlie Hurley to the mound in a matchup that the Longhorns have a 10-game winning streak going against their opponents, the Bearcats. Texas will try to keep their hot bats going as they enter the final 3 weeks of the season. They currently have 90 home runs, which ranks 8th nationally. In the NFL, the Chiefs gave tight end Travis Kelce a significant raise with a new 2-year contract worth reportedly $34 million. The new deal will make the 34-year-old Kelce the highest-paid tight end in the league and keep him in Kansas City through at least 2027. In the NBA, 2 more teams were sent home, with the Oklahoma City Thunder sweeping the Pelicans with a 97-89 win, where they outscored New Orleans 27-18 in the fourth quarter. And the Nuggets finished off the Lakers with Jamal Murray playing through a calf injury to score 32 points and hit the game-winning jumper to end the Lakers season. The Celtics also dominated their matchup with the Heat, winning 102-88 and taking commanding 3-1 series lead. However, they did lose Kristaps Porzingis to a calf injury in the first half. Tonight, the 76ers will try to keep their season alive against the Knicks. The Magic and Cavs face off with the series tied at 2-2, and the Pacers will look to take advantage of a beat-up Bucks team with Giannis, Lillard, and Middleton all a game-time decision in a series the Pacers lead 3-1. In Major League Baseball, the Astros and Rangers are both back in action today, with Houston beginning their series against the Guardians, with Hunter Brown looking to get his first win of the season. And the Rangers kick off their series with the Nationals pregame starting at 6:30 right here on the Horn. And that is your Horn headlines.
Thank you very much, Patrick, for the Horn headlines. We appreciate those. It should be a bigger headline, but I think it's kind of an underwhelming story. It's kind of going under the radar a little bit. Because at the beginning stages of it, so this is the infancy of these talks and this discourse. But the SEC and the Big Ten are currently developing a revenue sharing plan with players that essentially would redefine college athletics as we know it. This comes from CBS Sports. The still unrefined proposal, currently utilizing the name Modern Model, would not only share revenue with players, but also perhaps settle the House versus the NCAA lawsuit that's currently going on right now that goes to trial in January 2025. The antitrust lawsuit is a class action complaint alleging the NCAA and power conferences have conspired to suppress athletes' compensation. Well, yeah, I don't know if you can prove it, but yeah, I think we all agree with that. The lawsuit continues to be the top hurdle for programs in planning college athletics future. Settlement money alone could cost universities between $15 and $20 million. Athletic directors have been frustrated trying to figure out how to rearrange their budgets or otherwise account for a payment of that size. ESPN reported on Monday that the Power Four conferences now are in deep discussions regarding a revenue sharing plan. It is not clear where that revenue would come from or how it would be distributed. Sources told CBS Sports the revenue sharing idea emerged out of the SEC Big Ten Joint Advisory Group that was announced by both conferences in February. The group is made up of university presidents, chancellors, and ADs. So I love how this reads. So basically, the Big Ten and the SEC got together and was like, dude, we got to come up with something, man. All right. We are the two big conferences here. We are the two power conferences. We need to, because honestly, the ACC and the Big 12, they're so far behind the Big 10 and the SEC when it comes to money now. The truth is, guys, there's only two power conferences. That's the truth. And nobody wants to really say it, but that's in terms of blue blood representation, in terms of the monopolization of athletes and revenue, guys, the gap is only growing bigger and bigger. That's why Florida State and Clemson won't out of the ACC, because the gap is only going to continue to grow. The Big 12 has decided we're going to be a college basketball conference. We can't even keep up in college football anymore. We're just going to dominate college basketball, which, by the way, is a smart pivot by your market. You're like, no, we'll get what we can in football, but we're gonna monopolize college basketball. That'll be what we do. And so the Big Ten and SEC got together about, hey, man, let's think about how we can cut the players in on this thing, and then we will be able to separate from everybody, emancipate ourselves from the rest of really college sports overall. Because I don't even know how they would break it down and distribute it, and would they still be considered student athletes at that point, or employees? We still don't know. But ESPN reported this past yesterday, that the Power Four conferences are in deep discussion. So it went from the Big Ten and the SEC talking about it and that was last week or 2 weeks ago, to now this week, the Power Four conferences. So the ACC and the Big 12 are like, whoa, what y'all talking about over there? Hey, man, we want to be a part of this thing. Hey, man, we're still power. We still got the power conferences too. Let us in on this thing. And now it's a Power Four discussion. But I think ultimately, guys, this is a Big Ten and SEC discussion, because I'm not even sure the ACC support it, unless the SEC and the Big Ten decide, all right, you know what? We'll foot most of the bill here. All right. We'll pay more than our fair share just to make sure that we can get this new revenue sharing model off the ground and get it going, whatever it's going to end up being. So once again, as I've said before, you don't know anybody who has a smartphone that's not an Android or an Apple phone. They control 99% of the market share in America. If you got anything other than a smartphone, you got an Android or an iPhone, then I wouldn't trust it. And I wouldn't trust that person who has that phone either, by the way, unless it's Elon Musk and he's got his own phone and own network that he's got. That's understandable. But everybody, if you know somebody who's got something other than an iPhone or an Android, don't trust them. And that's essentially going to become an Android iPhone market share situation where two brands, the SEC and the Big Ten, monopolize most of the market share when it comes to revenue, viewership, and athletes. If you go look at the NFL draft, and look at the conferences as realigned already, so take the Pac-12 out, it's already disassembled. Those teams have already gone to the Big Ten. Texas, Oklahoma going to the SEC already. If you account for that movement already, 24 of the top 32, the first 32 picks in the draft in the first round were Big Ten or SEC draftees. They went to Big Ten or SEC schools, I should say. That number is only going to continue to rise. And if you go look at the just like I said, the overall distribution of talent, if you will, from conference to conference, the Group of Five and these other conferences, they really can't keep up now with what the SEC is doing at the rate they're doing it. I went and saw the transfers. If you look at the amount of transfers that were drafted in 2024, it was 78. What do you think they're transferring to? They're transferring to the schools that are in the SEC and the Big Ten because they have the best NIL deals.
Yeah.
They got the most money to spend in NIL, and these guys are going to the free market to get what they believe they are worth in the open market. So, like I said, over and over again, it's just more and more proof, Patrick, that you're going to have a separation of the have and have-nots. And no matter what you're looking at, whether you're looking at talent, looking at revenue, or if you're looking at viewership, most of it is, like I said, monopolized by those two conferences.
Yeah, and I think that there's something where, they can go to everyone else and explain to them well enough that we're trying to find every solution we can to make this work without making them employees. And if we don't, they're going to be employees. The government is going to make them employees. Like we need to find a solution where they are no longer coming after us and trying to unionize and do whatever. We need to find a way that we can pacify the situation before it gets put in someone else's hands, because once they become employees, insurance becomes part of it. Once they become employees, benefits and other factors come into it. There's so many other pieces that start to come into it. But in our reality, we know the same they do with the NFL. The insurance is the biggest thing they want to avoid, because the insurance is going to cost more than even paying these players. It's going to be this whole other cost that you have to go into that is extremely hard to insure yourself, and it will be extremely hard for college football players to be insured. And what do they do long term? And are you paying into some retirement plan? If you have a career-ending injury when you're in college, what is the repercussions of that? And all of these other pieces that will eventually become a piece of college football. But I think the SEC and the Big Ten realize those are negotiations we don't want to have right now. So we would rather give them a piece of the pie and deal with that
on their own. Yeah.
deal with the other stuff later. But if we don't give them the piece of the pie now, they're going to come for a bigger piece of the pie. So you have to cut the pie yourself, hand it to them.
The courts are going to support them.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the reality is, once we start getting into it, we know we're part of a scam. Like, if you're playing someone in 3-card monte, every once in a while they let the guy win so he doesn't call the cops.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where college football is right now. We know that there's pieces of this that will not hold up in court. So we have to, and we can see the courts are shutting down things over and over again. So the more we can find ways that we're comfortable making these deals and that we're still setting the parameters, even if they're not what we prefer, then I'd rather go that route. And I think that's where, when you can legally go to the ACC and the Big 12 and tell them this is what's happening, and your two choices are jump on board with this or hire the best legal team you can find, because you're about to fight for it and probably ruin it for everybody. I think most of them realize it's time to get on board.
No, you're right. I mean, I think the smart people in college football, and Greg Sankey is one of them, who's the commissioner of the SEC, and the Big Ten commissioner, I forget his name. He's relatively new. Remember, it was Kevin Warren. He's relatively new. So I don't know much about the new Big Ten commissioner. But I will say they know the courts have sent them a message. And the courts have, just like Pat said, the courts in America have sent them a message. If you come to us with lawsuits against the NCAA, we will support you, because we believe the NCAA is, I'm just paraphrasing, a borderline criminal institution that is violating antitrust laws in this country and has been for decades. And the courts will help you destroy the NCAA and their corrupt model, but people have to bring them more and more cases. And that's what this lawsuit is about. So the lawsuit continues to be the top hurdle, it says here. And it goes on to say that, by the way, this thing is set to go to trial in January 2025. So it's coming up faster than you think. House versus the NCAA. Remember that case name. But remember, the House plaintiff's attorney is Jeffrey Kessler. He is that name scares the hell out of the NCAA, because Jeffrey Kessler's been around a while and he knows this arena really well. And he had no comment when reached, neither about the plan nor the prospect of settling the lawsuit. He said it's something that schools hope they can take to Kessler and say, here's something that we propose. Sorry, this is from one of the a unnamed source. It says it's something that schools hope they can take to Kessler and say, here's something that we propose as the future model. Will you take this to settle as future part of your case? Because they're scared they're going to lose. The House suit claims college athletes are entitled to a share of television revenue as well as money from their likeness appearing in video games from the past, which name, image, and likeness, which is already the law of the land. Because it is an antitrust case, damages sought could be tripled. If the case goes to jury and the NCAA loses, which if it goes to jury, they'll lose because nobody likes the NCAA. The courts don't like them.
Yeah.
People don't like them. Fans don't like them. Administrators don't like them. Coaches don't like them. That's why they keep losing. Nobody likes them. So if they lose, the association could be on the book for at least $4 billion with a B, a capital B. Billion.
Yeah.
And that's why these smart guys are going, whoa. Let's offer them revenue sharing because that'll cost us less than $4 billion was it going to make all of us pay. Because the NCAA essentially, guys, it's just made up of all of these different conference administrators. And yeah, they have someone who is a face of it, but it's like Roger Goodell. It's a face of it, but it's still the team owners that are essentially is what it's made up of. NCAA is the same thing. They're made up of their member institutions. So they are essentially a face for a lot of the, I would say corruption, but a lot of the misdeeds. And they want to put a face to those misdeeds in college sports. They just do it with NCAA. That's the boogeyman.
Yeah.
The truth is, these are member institutions. That's the NCAA. It's made up of just member institutions. So they can decide to emancipate at any point and go, no, we're no longer part of NCAA. We're done with that.
Yeah.
And that's what this $4.2 billion is about, because that's who's got to pay it, guys. The NCAA ain't just gonna, we got to fork it over from the money we make from the NCAA tournament. No. The member institutions, they're all going to pay this. It's all going to be distributed among them. The fee that they're going to have to pay, and it could be $4 billion. And USA Today quoted a sports economics expert for the plaintiffs who said 7,000 current and former athletes will be entitled to that money. That's a lot of people to pay. Instead of just having, like you said, Patrick, to pay the guys who are playing right now, as opposed to paying the guys who are playing right now and the guys who have played all time in the history of college football who are still alive.
Yeah.
Like, nah, we don't want to do all that. Let's just pay the guys who are playing right now.
No, and it's, I mean, and this was all set up of a thing that you saw, or what I kept talking about when NIL came out, that, you knew eventually this was going to come back to bite them, that NIL, the NCAA said, fine, you can get money. Don't take ours. You go find your own money. You can have it. But still, you can't touch what we make. You're like, that's going to come back to bite you at a certain point, because you can't continue to still have the most profitable business model and make all of this money and still not be sharing any of it with the people that are playing the games and the stars of the whole thing. So it came into it where, eventually you knew there would be a piece of, okay, you can come into the club, but you can't get into the VIP. And you realize that they're all drinking champagne and you're down drinking tap water at the bottom. Like, wait a minute. So I'm the star player and I'm still making less than these guys who are doing nothing. I'm still making less. These guys are making millions of dollars and getting mad at me because I got a $900,000 endorsement. I made $900,000. They're making $5 million a year, and they're mad at me, even though I draw more revenue here than they ever have.
Yeah, no, it is. I said it at the time. I agree with you, Patrick Wonder. I said when NIL was basically state to state, when it was legally approved to be the law of the land, I said NIL is going to destroy the NCAA. I said the NCAA is a dinosaur.
Yeah. And
NIL represents free market, and the NIL is going to be the asteroid that kills the NCAA. It really, because the NCAA has always been anti-free market. Everything they've done. That's why they're violating antitrust laws. And now you have the courts who are deciding, and it was really that Alston versus the NCAA case, or Alston versus NCAA, that really stripped the NCAA of its ability to oversee compensation at all. And now there are like 4 or 5 antitrust lawsuits against the NCAA right now, like major ones currently against the NCAA right now. A sports law attorney, Mitt Winter, told CBS Sports, he said this current case, though, the House versus NCAA, He said, quote, "It's the case that could end the NCAA, period." I think basically, what it would cause is it would cause member institutions to abandon the NCAA. I don't know what it would do, file bankruptcy or whatever, and just go under. But it would. And now the question is, what would arise as the authority in college sports once the NCAA is defunct?
Yeah,
we don't really know, and that's the problem they're dealing with right now. And they got to figure that out. They got a lot of things they got to figure. They got to figure out NIL. We still don't have federal legislation for NIL. So NIL, it's the wild, wild west. And like I said, the NCAA is a dinosaur. NIL is that asteroid is going to destroy it. But now they're going to rebuild after it's destroyed. I think we know it's right now in the process of being disassembled. But what's going to rise up in its presence? You guys got to have something. You can't just. And that's what I think they're trying to figure out.
Well, and they're trying to figure out too. How can we keep something alive for all of these other sports and all these other things in college athletics that are great things for college athletics, and they still fit more in the amateurism mode where you can have NIL, sure, but it's not necessarily going to be. These are not nationally televised events, and they're not
revenue generating.
They're not revenue generating, and they should still exist, and they should still have people in charge of them, and they're great things. But how do we separate the two without fully separating it into a world we can't go back from, of completely taking the colleges out of it and just becoming a pro league for football, which is not really what they want to do, because once you become once you lose the college, then you don't lose the fan base, and it doesn't have the same effect. So it's just it's a weird line that you're trying to walk right now, because you do have to look at everything else, because if you want to get people to get back on the NCAA side, take away swimming and diving, track and field, start to push down push down all these other sports, and people will go, well, we don't want that at all. We don't want to get rid of every other sport and just have football, basketball, and baseball.
Yeah, what's going to have to happen is, because there's so much money, you're talking about, it's because the sports industrial complex, you're talking about $1 billion entity of the sports industrial complex, which is college football. I think ultimately they're going to ask college football to continue what they do and essentially just support the other sports. Even with the new revenue sharing model, you still need to devote a certain amount of money back to the university, back to the athletic department, to make sure the other sports are supported.
Yeah.
And I think that's going to be part of it too. But you're right. That's definitely got it, because you can't allow that to happen, because you're right. That's when the public sentiment will swing against these changes, against player empowerment, against NIL, then you may get some politician, Capitol Hill, and have federal legislation that is more anti-NIL. And we don't really want that. We want to continue with these changes. We just want guardrails. We want checks and balances right now. And there's none of that, because you don't have proper leadership, because that leadership was the NCAA, but now they've been gutted by all of these court decisions. They have no more power. Nobody respects them. Nobody respects their authority. So that's why you have these institutions that are openly violating NCAA rules and giving them the middle finger and saying, what are you going to do? I'll take you to court, and the courts will take my side. And that's where we are now. Courts will take the side of the member institutions and not the NCAA. And that's where all this is going to get sorted out. And that sucks too, because it takes forever to sort out this stuff. And that's why I think Big Ten is going, hey man, can we come up with a solution before we got to get to courts? Because then we got courts, then we got appeals, and then we got all this kind of stuff. Can we work out something? And I hope they do. Because right now, college sports, it's crazy. The appetite for college sports has never been better. Women's college basketball, college football ratings are up. Even the men's basketball tournament ratings are up. So the appetite is there, but the leadership has never been more, dysfunctional. It's never right. It seems like it's never been this dysfunctional. It's because there's so many changes happening so quickly. And there aren't enough, like I said, checks and balances in place. There aren't enough rules in place by the NCAA and the ability to enforce those rules to make sure that this thing doesn't go off the rails.
It's an age-old story of age standing in the way of progress. And there's people that will always be in charge that realize I will be retired in 6 years, or I'll be retired in 5 years. So I could care less what happens in 10, because it will not affect me one bit. I'll be gone. So let me make all the money I can in 5 and screw you in 10. And that exists in a lot of walks of life. And for the people who are forward thinking and the people who do not want to do that, because there are a lot of very good people and very ethical people that are involved in this, they kind of have to push those people aside, say, this is what the future is. This is where we're going to go. And we have to make these changes because I know you don't care if the NCAA gets blown up in 5 years, but the rest of us do.
Yeah, I think there's a place for the NCAA. I just don't think it's governing major college sports anymore.
No, exactly. And I think there is also you know a NCAA that has some new leadership and some new people involved in it that they're held a bit more accountable than they've been, where they don't get to be the big dog on campus anymore. They get to be someone who is more works for the schools than can go and threaten whoever they want.
Yeah, no, I forget his name, but they do have a new president who is pretty progressive and forward thinking. Probably should have had him 10 years ago. Maybe we wouldn't be in this position, but hey, better late than never. All right, we come back. Speaking of late than never, we got to push the Raj rant of the day. We're pushing that to the next segment, so we'll get into what used to be one of the biggest bargains in the NFL that is no longer the case. Also, we'll discuss what the possible cover options will be for the new college football game coming up. We have some reports about that too. All of that and more when we return. This is the Rodcast featuring Patrick Davis. I'm lifetime Longhorn Rod Babers coming back on the horn. Hey, what's up, folks? Lifetime Longhorn Rod Babers here. We all love living in the city of Austin, and if you're a homeowner in Austin, you actually own some of the most valuable real estate in America. The only downside is the property taxes are also some of the highest in the state, and many of my fellow Austinites, like you listening right now, are overpaying on your property taxes. Don't worry, I was overpaying on my property taxes too until I found Ownwell. Ownwell can help you protest unfair property taxes and save you hundreds, potentially thousands of dollars. Ownwell believes that when it comes to paying property tax, you should only pay what's fair. It only will take you 3 minutes to sign up, and there are no upfront costs or fees. Ownwell will save you money, or it's free. That's the Ownwell guarantee. And if you don't save, you don't pay. But 86% of Ownwell's customers actually save on their property taxes. Ownwell handles everything from start to finish, and they deliver an average savings of over $1,100. Ownwell provides you with local tax experts backed by cutting-edge technology and the best-in-class customer support available. Save money on your property taxes with Ownwell. Sign up in less than 3 minutes and start your protest today at ownwell.com. That's OWNWELL.com. Ownwell.com. All right. Welcome back to the Rodcast. Time to get to Rod's rant of the day. I want to talk about the Kansas City Chiefs. Of course, now with what they've done in the draft, getting Xavier Worthy, they got a lot of people, little people paranoid in the AFC, including myself. Played that sound from CJ Stroud yesterday and from Nick Casario, thinking about Xavier Worthy and what he's going to add to that Kansas City offense. But they actually decided finally to pay Travis Kelce what he was worth, or at least make him the highest paid tight end in the league. I still don't know if he's getting paid what he's worth, but he signed a 2-year contract extension with the Chiefs. It's going to pay him $34.2 million over those 2 years, and that will make him the highest paid tight end in the league. I think like it's a little over $17 million per year for him. I think Darren Waller was the highest paid tight end. He was at $17 million. Remember, guys, if you were just looking at the productivity of Travis Kelce and comparing his productivity to his pay scale, he was arguably one of, if not the best bargain in the NFL. So now they're going to pay him $17 million in 2024, all guaranteed at signing, 17.2 in 2025, most of which vests as guaranteed next March, and the deal runs through 2025. So highest paid tight end in average per year, and cash too over the next 2 years because he's at the end of his career. And to me, this is the retirement deal, I think. But remember, I talked about this too. If you go look at just like I said, overall value related to productivity, I don't know if there was a better bargain in the NFL. Here are the numbers. I remember crunching these, and this is from last year. All right. So it's pretty, like I said, I haven't done it recently. I haven't updated for this particular off season. But if you look back at the top tight ends, top receivers, period. Just take receivers. We're just looking at receivers, not even tight ends. So tight ends, you go running backs in there, you can throw wide receivers in there too. We're just talking about people, pass catchers, I should say. From 2016 to 2022, Travis Kelce ranked behind only Devontae Adams in receiving yards. He was only 100 yards behind him too, by the way. And if you include postseason, he led the league. If you include his postseason yards from 2016 to 2022, he was the leading receiver in the NFL in that time span. And if you go look at his pay during that time, if he were a receiver, here's where he ranked in receiving yards compared to his salary. In 2022, fourth compared to he would paid like the highest, he'd paid like the 19th highest paid receiver. In 2021, seventh in terms of his receiving yards rank, but he'd have been the 18th highest paid wide receiver. If you go back even to 2017, as a wide receiver, receiving yards, he'd be 10th, but as a pass catcher in terms of what he'd be paid, he'd be 30th among those receivers. His career earnings, Amari Cooper, and just like I said, this was last year, so I haven't configured it and put in this offseason. Amari Cooper was at $116.7 million in career earnings. And Travis Kelce, prior to this new deal, he was at 76. Allen Robinson was making more money in career earnings at 95 than Travis Kelce. Brandon Cooks had made more money in career earnings than Travis Kelce. And if you go look at Travis Kelce in 2022, he finished third in catches, eighth in yards, and second in touchdowns. And he made $12 million less than Kenny Galladay, $6 million less than Nelson Aguilar that year, $5 million less than Corey Davis that year. He made $4.5 million less than Curtis Samuel. Tyler Boyd made more money than Travis Kelce that year. It was good. So basically, he has the most receiving yards in the NFL since 2015, but he ranks 20th in receiver earnings during that time span. Like I said, this was until 2022. He ranks 20th in career receiver earnings in that time span. And if you go look at it, in terms of the average salary for a top 5 tight end, the average salary right now is probably around 14.9, around 15 million. Average top 5 tight end salary, average top 5 wide receiver salary, we're talking about $27 million. He gives you top 5 wide receiver production, but you only got to pay him top 5 tight end money. Now they're going to actually pay him, but even still paying him 17 something million dollars a year compared to what is the top receiver making now? $32 million a year. So he's giving you top 5 receiver numbers and productivity, which should be 28, at least 27, $28 million of compensation. And yet you only got to pay him $17 million. Find a really good tight end. If you can find one. And Travis Kelce was a 3rd round pick. Travis Kelce there were a lot of red flags on him coming out, troublemaker, immature, all this kind of stuff. Nope, Travis Kelce ended up being great with Andy Reid and with Patrick Mahomes. Now that helps. But man, you can see why teams are investing more in tight end. It's a hell of a bargain. If you can find one that can give you wide receiver productivity, you only got to pay him like a tight end. That's easy.
Yeah.
That's good. That's easy. That's good. That's good economics right there, man. That's just good finance, damn it.
And it's the issue is it's the reason why it's so valuable is because there's just not a ton of them that can perform at that level. And I think it also matters somewhat of who your quarterback is. Certain quarterbacks just don't necessarily mesh with the tight end as well because they do want to air it out more downfield. They do want to try and hit, deep threats, and they want to try and hit their wide receivers more. But for quarterbacks that are really good at sack avoidance, tight ends are really, really valuable. Hence, Lamar Jackson, Patrick Mahomes as 2 guys who extend plays. If you can extend a play and have a good tight end, they become invaluable because there's, you basically always have a guy who's going up against a linebacker who will instinctively want to come up and get the quarterback. You're playing against guys that can find space and just get lost so much more easily than a wide receiver does. It's like if you have that type of quarterback, tight end, you have to have a tight end.
Yep, and that's why the Raiders drafting Brock Bowers. I love Brock Bowers, but it almost feels like a waste because they don't really have a quarterback.
No, I agree.
Give him the football,
but I mean, they drafted Mayer last year too, the first tight end off the board last year.
It feels like, yeah, exactly. It feels like a way. You shouldn't be drafting tight ends in the first round anyway. I'll give you a quick stat because I was doing research on this because, like I said, Travis Kelce was a 3rd round pick. JT Sanders is going to be a 4th round pick. I think he'll end up starting for the Panthers in 4 years. But Mark Andrews was, I believe he was a 3rd round pick too, if I'm not mistaken.
I think so. Yeah.
Kittle was a late round pick. I mean, that's where you find your tight ends. You find your tight ends. Yeah, Mark Andrews was a 3rd round pick. So was Kelce. Kittle was a 5th round pick. You find your tight ends in the middle rounds. If you go look at 1st round tight ends, this is a number that's just astounding. Among the 26 1st round tight ends drafted since 2000, you got 6 total 1,000-yard receiving seasons, 2 total first team All Pros, and 3 total second team All Pros. So you got 5 total All Pro selections out of those 26 1st round tight ends. In the last 10 years, 9 tight ends have been picked. I guess Brock Bowers will make 10, so don't include this draft. In the last 10 years, 9 tight ends have been picked in the 1st round, 0 All Pro nods, and 1,000-yard season. 1 of the 9 got a second contract from the team that drafted him. And that was David Njoku. Still, Kyle Pitts just got his 5th-year option picked up. It's weird. I don't know why. It's one of those positions you don't draft in the 1st round. You draft it in the middle rounds, and usually you get your good ones in the middle rounds, not in the 1st round. It's strange.
Well, I think a lot of times, and Brock Bowers somewhat, I think, bucks the trend.
Situation they go to, right?
Well, and I think he somewhat bucks the trend a lot of times of those 1st round tight ends that are much more dynamic threats in the passing game than also really solid blockers. And I think Brock Bowers is kind of an overall really good player. Where a guy like a Kyle Pitts is more like the guy you normally see in the 1st round who can block okay, but it's really his downfield threat and his ability to be a wide receiver. And those guys are drafted on the teams in the 1st round that don't necessarily always draft well. And then, he's been playing with Desmond Ridder for 4 years. And, it's what are you going to do when you don't have an offensive coordinator that wants to throw you the ball and you don't have a quarterback who's not avoiding sacks at all. He's just running. He's not keeping his eyes downfield, so he doesn't know where you are. He has to relocate you, which, Lamar Jackson is doing better if, finding Mark Andrews, knows where to find him. Mark Andrews knows how to stay in his eye line.
He does.
And
one thing about Travis Kelce, he does too. He stays with Patrick Mahomes. Patrick Mahomes is going to say, I'm going with you.
Yeah.
So when Patrick Mahomes scrambles, their scramble drill is a beautiful thing.
And so, like, guys like that, it's a little different where Kyle Pitts kind of runs a route, and then if he's on the other side of the field, he's on the other side of the field. And so it's just how those things are set up. But I mean, Brock Bowers could be an outlier, but I'm with you until they get into the quarterback. I don't know if Aiden O'Connell to Brock Bowers is going to be the guy either.
Yeah, and then by the time Brock Bowers is getting close to his second contract, they're rebuilding or firing, getting a new coach and drafting a new quarterback. Maybe that's why those guys don't get second contracts. Something weird about tight ends, the best ones, middle rounds. It's one of those strange positions. I told you I want to give this report about the college football video game coming out, and they have apparently, at least this report from Matt Brown says that the cover will feature multiple current athletes. Remember, there was talk they were going to do this is a shout out to kind of a legacy shout out to some of the greatest athletes, in college football history recently. They're not going to do that.
The other one was a lot of people wanted Saban to be on it.
Saban, I remember. That was a good idea. That's actually still a good idea, honestly. But yeah, then you would, if you do that, then I totally can understand. A lot of people in the SEC being upset about that. So the current athletes, no coaches. So to your point, no Saban, he won't be on there, or historical players. So they're not going back and picking old school players either. It says each play different positions. So the cover will feature multiple current players. Each will play different positions and are in power conferences. Well, of course, I'm not going to put some G5 guy in there, no matter how good the G5 dude is. To the G5 guys transfers to a Power 4 school, and then maybe they put him on there. So there you go. It's going to be a current athlete. Quinn Ewers has got a good chance then. You'll see. I mean, I said this, last year when the Arch Madness happened and he refused to sign the agreement to be on the new video game.
Yeah.
He was not going to sign the release. And a lot of people were getting upset, and which is stupid. I mean, he just didn't want to do it. Who cares? And he said he would not engage in NIL opportunities until he became a starter, and the only one he did was for charity. But I said he's definitely going to be on the cover of the video game, and I do think part of his strategy was just a negotiation for future, talks and discussions, or at least I should say leverage for future negotiations about him being on the cover. So I think that's probably what it was, what one of the strategies was. But in terms of this year, Shedeur Sanders, no coaches, so it won't be Dion. Shedeur Sanders got a good chance. Quinn's got a good chance. I mean, who are the athletes that are that recognizable in college football?
Travis Hunter would be another one from Colorado that you put on there. If you don't put Shedeur Sanders on, you put on Travis Hunter.
Yeah, you're right about that. You can do both. Do 1, 2. That'd be a lot. That's a lot of Colorado love there.
Yeah,
would they do just one athlete or doing a regional thing?
Do you put Jalen Miller on there because it's Alabama?
I just don't know if I just don't know if he has enough appeal.
Dylan Gabriel at Oregon.
He's been at Oklahoma. I just don't know if there's an athlete like that in college football right now.
Carson
Shedeur
Beck.
Sanders may be close. I know it's Carson Beck. Is that sexy enough?
I'm trying to throw names out. Yeah,
it's weird. I
mean, a wide receiver from Ohio State, probably. I don't know which one, but I'm guessing an Ohio State wide receiver is going to be the first wide receiver taken because it just seems that way every year.
Yeah, who's the biggest star in college football right now? Is it Shedeur Sanders?
I mean, most recognizable name.
It's crazy because Caitlin Clark is like, Caitlin Clark's the biggest star in college basketball. And that was easy. You just, men's or women's. In college football, it should be easy. Who's the first name that comes to mind?
I mean, for us, it's Quinn because we're here.
Yeah, so it's a regional thing.
I think it's a regional
everybody's
thing,
region.
yeah.
So you make multiple covers then and kind of do.
That's what I think they're doing. Yeah, that's why I think the guess is there isn't that person. So if we put one on there,
yeah. Okay, that's probably what that's the best. That's your best way to go about not offending half of the people that will be playing the video game. Just do a regional, and then you can go order whatever player you want. You can order that cover.
Yeah. I mean, and I think that too. You'll look at it. I think the NCAA and teams in the SEC and the Big 12 or the Big 10 will start promoting players a bit more now that the draft is over. Yeah. And we'll start to see those stories come out and the narrative start to build about who is going to be that. But I think you had to get through the NFL draft first to let those players all go.
Yeah, last year you had a lot of them. You had a lot of stars because they had all these quarterbacks.
Yeah.
Right? Caleb Williams was one of those guys already established, had won the Heisman early on. Jaden Daniels was great. You had 2 Heisman Trophy winners You know what I mean? In that class. And then you had Michael Penix, who was a star in his own right as a player. JJ McCarthy led a champ. So you're at it seemed like we had a lot of star power. But you're right, it will arise. I mean, it will start to, there'll be clarity about this. But right now, it's like Shadur Sanders and like you said, Travis Hunter might be it. Those two guys might be it, which is weird. That's not even a winning football team. Yeah, right? It's like, what's going on with that?
And
Not
now
even a
they're
winning football team.
now they're a Big 12 team.
Yeah, well, actually might help the profile a little bit. Yeah, it's a good point. Oh, yeah, we got a story about Dion actually, not off the record. All right, well, speaking of, let's get to the break. We'll come back and we'll get into our what the facts, what the stats. Got a couple of draft nuggets I'm going to share with you guys on the other side. Right here on the Rodcast featuring Patrick Davis. I'm Lifetime Longhorn Rod Davis coming back on the horn. Hey, what's up, folks? Lifetime Longhorn Rod Babers here. Let's talk about my friends over at Apple Leasing because a lot of you out there might be in traffic right now. And if your traffic experience, I'm sure everybody's miserable in traffic, but your traffic experience could be much better if you were driving a car that you actually enjoyed, one that brought you joy. And maybe it's about time for you. Maybe your car's a little run down. Maybe it no longer fits your lifestyle. Maybe you need something bigger because the family's growing. Maybe you need something newer. Maybe your car is giving you a lot of problems. Whatever the reason that you want a new car, my friends at Apple Leasing, they can help you out. Apple Leasing has the ability to put you in any make or model vehicle that you want. The professionals over at Apple Leasing can help you get the price you want, the payment you want on the car you want. And all it takes is one phone call. One phone call or one click on Apple Leasing's website, and you'll get a quote on any make or model vehicle that you want. They can even give you an estimate on the value of your trade-in right over the phone. Apple Leasing has a simple interest, easy lease that's going to make things, well, simple and easy for you. They understand that your time is valuable and they don't want to waste it. Time is money. And my friends at Apple Leasing are going to save you both. They're going to save you time, save you money, and find you tremendous value. There are simple interest, easy lease is going to give you flexibility, which is going to give you more possibilities and options to help you find the vehicle that fits you best, but more importantly, the vehicle that fits your budget best. So give them a call today because Apple Leasing gets all the same discounts, all the same incentives that the dealers do, except my friends at Apple Leasing, they pass those savings on to you. They know everything's overpriced these days. That's why leasing makes more sense than ever. You're only paying for the part of the car you're actually using. 512-346-9977. That's 512-346-9977 or visit appleleasing.com. That's appleleasing.com. All right, welcome back to the Rodcast. Time for What the Facts, What the Stats. Remember, we talked about the separation of the have and have-nots, the Big Ten and the SEC discussing a revenue-sharing model with the players. Actually, they're in talks about one potentially, and I've talked about how the Big Ten and SEC have monopolized all the talent, viewership, and revenue in major college sports. How about this stat? 87% of the 2024's NFL draft picks played in the Power Five or Notre Dame. 87% of the draft picks came from what was the Power Five, because Pac-12, that obviously won't be the case anymore. But the Power Five or the Notre Dame, Power Five and Notre Dame, I should say. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
Wow.
And I mean, first 5 rounds is more than that.
I'm sure it is. Yeah, first 5 rounds. I'm sure the percentage is much higher. I'm sure. Yeah, you probably get those G5 group of 5, prospects later on the draft, because I don't remember. I would love to find out what the highest drafted group of 5 guy was. Maybe it might have been earlier than I thought. I just don't remember him in the first round.
You have to look. I'll look in the break.
Yeah,
see if I can find somebody.
I'll look it up. How about this one? 48 out of 63 group of 5 or FBS. Independent FBS schools failed to produce a draft pick this year. So 76% of those group of 5 or in FBS independents failed to produce a draft pick this year.
You know how good it is that at Texas we're not that team anymore? Failed to produce a draft pick?
Yeah, exactly. Well, and it's honestly a lot of it, guys, it's the transfer portal.
Yeah, it's true.
Because
that's
anytime that a player is good at a group of 5 school, you just transfer to a Power 5 school because they're going to pay you a lot of money, NIL, and you showcase your talent on a bigger stage.
Yeah.
And the NFL, they obviously they value you playing high level competition. So that's why it's sad, but the separation is only going to continue. It's only going to get worse. It's just these guys are going to continue to transfer. If they have any talent at the lower levels, like a Texas State, those guys just leave Texas State. You basically you're the minor league system developmental league for the Power 5 now, the Group of 5.
Yeah,
that's what you are. That's what you've been relegated to. 78 players that were drafted transferred. 78 of them. Last year it was 47. In 2020 it was 24. Y'all see the pattern? I mean, every 2 or 3 years the numbers is jumping exponentially. It'll be half the NFL. It'll be half the players drafted in 3 years. Half the players drafted will be guys that transfer. And I bet most of them will be transferred from lower level schools to higher level schools, at least half of them. And then the other guys just transferring for playing time. Anyway, so there you go. That's the facts. What the
stats. We look at what the 6 quarterbacks taken. Are they all transfers?
Oh,
I mean, Caleb was a transfer.
Yeah, Caleb Williams transferred.
Drake May was not.
Daniels transferred.
Drake was not.
Drake Daniels transferred. Drake wasn't. Penix transferred. Damn, you're right. JJ didn't. JJ McCarthy.
JJ didn't, and Drake May didn't, right? Drake May just changed it. Drake May almost transferred at one point, but he didn't.
You're right. So 4 out of the 6.
4 out of the 6 were transfers. Yeah.
Yeah, there you go. In a nutshell, there you go.
Yeah.
There you go. No position probably embodies that more than the quarterback position. All right, good stuff there. We come back. We got NBA discussion. The Texas men's basketball team also got a transfer portal acquisition or commitment, I should say. We'll talk about that, but also get into the NBA playoffs. We'll review the games last night. The Lakers are out. One team broke out the brooms. We'll discuss it all right here when we come back on the Rodcast, featuring Patrick Davis. I'm Lifetime Longhorn Rod Babers coming back on the horn. Welcome back to the Rodcast. It is featuring, of course, the Ideallionaire, Patrick Davis. He's the Ideallionaire because it comes up with a lot of great ideas for the show, including the musically themed days of the week. And Top of the Charts Tuesday is my favorite musically themed day of the week, and that's when Patrick plays jams that reach the top of the Billboard charts on this day in history. That's a nice jam right there. That's a nice little groove going right there. Who sings this song?
This is Glenn Campbell.
Okay, I don't recognize Glenn Campbell, but
I remember
put
Glenn
together
Campbell
a nice jam.
there.
Okay, does he have more than one hit? Is he a one-hit wonder guy?
No, I think he had more than one hit. He had more than one hit.
Okay, all right, there you go. Then.
I was trying to figure out which came first, this or the Muppet Movie, because this song sounds a lot like "Moving Right Along." I think that's the song it sounds like from the Muppet Movie, and this came out a couple of years before the Muppet Movie.
I remember the Muppet Movie. I don't know why I remember it though. Is it well? First of all, is there more than one?
There's
Muppet
a lot
movie?
of Muppet Movie. There's just a movie called The Muppet Movie, the first one.
Oh, I think that's the one I do remember back in the day. Okay, yes.
Yeah, it came out in 1979.
Yes, I was born in 1980, so I do remember as a child the Muppet Movie. But who knows? I could be mistaken about that. But there's a song. So you're saying that guy sang a song in the Muppet Movie?
No. I'm saying there's a song that sounds similar to it.
Oh,
and I can't remember which one it is.
Similar. Oh, I got. You're saying you're saying somebody stole somebody's groove. Somebody stole a little bit of sampled it.
It seemed similar. The way maybe inspired, but this one came first. So if it was inspired by this.
I hope he was inspired by the Muppet Movie groove. That'd be awesome.
It would be much funnier if it was that
way. If he was like inspired watching the Muppet Movie one day, that'd be cool. Okay, Patrick also gets us going with a big fat poll today, and this is a good conversation. We got to devote some time to this right now. All right. And we got some folks on the text line who've already contributed to the conversation, and you can as well. 512-447-3776. We will get NBA playoff review discussion in here. Talk about LeBron James and the earliest exit, by the way, for LeBron James in the playoffs. We'll get to that. We'll also get to Texas basketball, Texas men's basketball. They get a transfer portal commitment. We'll get to that too, I promise you, and your horn headlines. But let's discuss the big fat poll of the day, because I don't think we've gone down this rabbit hole enough. So what's the topic, Patrick?
So Patrick Mahomes was on WWE Raw last night because he was in Kansas City, but then he was basically, because he was doing part of a deal with Prime Energy Drink, he was playing a bad guy during the show. It was helping the bad guys.
Can I watch this somewhere?
I'm sure you can find that stuff online.
I'm about to go try to see this. Okay. Because that's rare.
It was just kind of weird.
It's like Tom Hanks being a bad guy.
Like at the beginning of the show, they all the bad guys get together, and Patrick Mahomes puts on his Kenny Powers shades, and it doesn't. And I'm telling you, they look like Kenny Powers shades. And he comes in, and so he's kind of just playing this character, and then he's in the front row and gives his Super Bowl rings, his 3 Super Bowl rings, which, by the way, looks weird to a guy just wearing 3 Super Bowl rings. I know it's impressive, but if you're just doing it in a crowd, you're like, that looks kind of.
No, because they're huge.
So you're wearing 3 gigantic rings.
You look like Thanos with that damn thing.
And he gives it to a bad guy. So all of that happened last night, and you were like, why is he the bad guy in Kansas City? Like, if this was in Buffalo, man, crowd would have eaten him alive. Or if he was in Cincinnati, crowd would have hated him. And it went to some of those places. But if it's Kansas City, he's loved, so it was weird, but apparently it was all a sponsorship thing. But it made me think, what current athletes would make the best villain in wrestling? So which guy would be a bad guy, a good heel?
I immediately jumped Draymond because that's just too
Draymond.
easy.
We got a lot of Draymonds on the text line.
Exactly. Draymond's just. Did we get any other good? Because Draymond, that is easy. Because what you want is personality fit, but also wrestlers got to have a mouthpiece. If you don't have a mouthpiece, you got to have a mystique.
Yeah.
Where you don't need to talk a lot, right? Like, you didn't get a lot of talk from The Undertaker because you didn't need to talk a lot. It's The Undertaker. You get it. You get the bit, right? You get it. I remember when Sting went through his dark phase. He didn't talk because you don't need it. I got a bit. You get it, right? Some people have that intimidating presence about them. So it can be that. Or it could be somebody whose personality, Draymond fits it all, man. He would be such a great wrestling villain. He'd be distracting the ref while he's pulling stuff out of his shorts and kicking dudes, and he'd be, violating rules and cheating. He would be great. Matter of fact, more I talk myself into it, I think I would like him to after NBA, him to have a lot of appearances, cameos. In wrestling, because he would be awesome.
The problem I have with Draymond in wrestling is I feel Draymond would be the type of guy who would go back and they'd be like, all right, so in the match tonight, this guy's gonna win. He'd be like, no, I don't think so. He wouldn't really beat me. It's like, yeah, we know, but it's all scripted. So
he wouldn't throw a match. You're like, I'm undefeated. And like, well, yeah, you're right. You got to come, man. You got to go along with it. I would say this. There's definitely some. I wish I was more of a hockey fan because I bet presence-wise, there's some good hockey guys. Who there like was teeth missing and stuff.
There was really back in the 90s when everybody had to have a job in wrestling. There was a hockey wrestler called the Goon.
Wow,
that came out and his boots had like drawn blades on them, so it looked like he was wearing. looked like he was wearing skates.
Oh no,
it was bad. It was really bad.
I wonder what that guy is now.
We had a couple people. Say Aaron Rodgers.
You know what? He is a good bad guy. You know what I picture?
He'd be a manager, though. He's a manager.
That's exactly what I was gonna say. Honestly, that's easier to come up with in this thing than even the wrestlers themselves, the athletes and wrestlers, is who would be the sleazy manager with them, because there are lots of those guys. You know what I mean? There are lots of those guys now all around. You know what I mean? Jerry Jones could fit that sleazy manager thing. You know what I mean? He's good in that role. Hell, lately Sean Payton has been trying to get into petty. Yeah. That kind of stuff, you know what I mean? There are a lot of, I think, people that can fill that role. Aaron Rodgers would be, yes, he would be a great sleazy.
He'd be out there. What's funny is we got a couple of Kyler Murrays. I don't think Kyler would work, but the one that's outside with that, and we got this one
beat up.
Baker Mayfield. Baker Mayfield could work.
Baker could work, guys. Baker could work because he's got a mouthpiece on him.
Yeah,
his performance in the ring ain't even got to be that good, but he ain't even got to be that technically sound as a wrestler. But the mouthpiece is the key for him. His mouthpiece would be fantastic. He would, yeah. To me, that's my number one trait of a wrestler. That's all my greatest wrestlers. They're all the guys who could talk. That's the key. Got to be able to. So it ain't always got to make sense. It ain't got to make sense. I mean, trust me, half the stuff Macho Man said, and Macho Man rarely made sense, actually. But his cadence was so cool, and the way, oh man, and his mannerisms.
Macho.
Yeah, it don't make sense. It just needs to sound cool. Yeah. It don't have to make sense. Just sound cool.
That great promo, the cream of the crop, where he's just got all these creamers on him. You cream of the crop, it raises to the top. You just have a cup of coffee in the business,
He brought creamer with him. And by the way, man, your Macho Man is creepy. It's so dead on eerie, man, that it's did y'all just hear that? That's a nice Macho Man. Does that hurt your throat to do that?
A little bit, but I normally do it when I'm really drunk, so.
Oh, that's when your Macho Man comes out?
That's when the Nacho Man, when you're just walking around. You're just walking around a bar late at night, just talking trash to people.
That is a great Macho Man. I don't think that's really good. I think I've heard that maybe once from you, but I forgot how good your Macho Man was. All right, there you go. So that is the question, the big fat poll of the day. That's the topic. What current athlete would make the best wrestling villain? And man, it's so there are a lot of different ways you can go here, but that's a good question. All right, we'll get back to that. We'll get back to that also on the text line 512-447-3776. Let's hit the horn headlines really quickly, and then we'll get into the NBA playoff review and also talk about the new transfer portal commitment for the Texas men's basketball team. But first, let's get updated. Let's get educated and informed with the horn headlines of the day with Patrick Davis.
All right, your Horn headlines brought to you by Top Gun Rentals and Lawn Equipment. Texas baseball will play their final non-conference game of the regular season tonight, facing Sam Houston at Disch-Falk Field. Texas will send Charlie Early to the mound in a matchup that the Longhorns have a 10-game winning streak going against their opponents in the Bearcats. Texas will try to keep their hot bats going as they enter the final 3 weeks of the season, currently with 90 home runs, which ranks 8th nationally. In the NFL, the Chiefs gave tight end Travis Kelce a significant raise with a new 2-year contract worth reportedly $34 million. The new deal will make the 34-year-old Kelce the highest-paid tight end in the league and keep him in Kansas City through at least 2025. In the NBA, 2 more teams are sent home with the Oklahoma City Thunder sweeping the Pelicans with a 97-89 win where they outscored New Orleans 27-18 in the fourth quarter. And the Nuggets finished off the Lakers with Jamal Murray playing through a calf injury to score 32 points and hit the game-winning jumper to end the Lakers season. The Celtics also dominated their matchup with the Heat, winning 102-88, taking commanding 3-1 series lead. However, they did lose Kristaps Porzingis to a calf injury in the first half. Tonight, the 76ers will try to keep their season alive against the Knicks. The Magic and Cavs face off with the series tied at 2-2, and the Pacers will look to take advantage of a beat-up Bucks team with Giannis, Lillard, and Middleton, all a game-time decision in a series versus the Pacers. In a series with the Pacers have a 3-1 lead. And Major League Baseball, the Astros and Rangers are both back in action today, with Houston beginning their series against the Guardians, with Hunter Brown looking to get his first win of the season. And the Rangers kick off their series with the Nationals, with pregame starting at 6:30 right here on the Horn. And that is your Horn headlines.
I don't know how we missed it. It was staring us in the face. The best answer to the big fat poll of the day, slapping us in the face.
Yeah.
The Kelsey brothers.
Well,
Tag team.
But they're not heels. They're faces, man.
I know, but
like them
still,
too much.
no, they can talk. They can talk. They got a great mouthpiece. They can talk, and you know, all you need is a bit in wrestling. It always got to be intimidating. Sometimes it can be funny. Sometimes it can be funny. Sometimes it can be kind of humorous, and they can go that route. It's the Kelsey brothers tag team. They both got a mouthpiece, and Travis Kelsey can do it. They can turn heel, and Travis is attractive, so the ladies don't like that part of it. And Jason's funny.
They come out to a Taylor Swift song.
They could come out to say, there you go. They could be like, dude, they would be great. I think they would be great just because they're so charismatic. You know what I mean? They got charisma. And some people, they just got it. They got it. And the Kelsey brothers got it. Because that's why they're being sought after now for these simulcasts, like a Manning cast.
Yeah.
Whenever they retire, they got started. I mean,
Travis
Kelsey's been a reality TV star.
Jason Kelsey did show up at WrestleMania. He came in and was part of it. Like, he came in and
dude,
fought in a match.
That's easy. That's how do we not? Come on, we should at least put them on a list.
We got all right. We'll see.
That's an easy one.
Yeah, they can
Kelsey
be
brothers.
They can be
both
on there.
of them. Yeah,
I do like Angel Reese is a decent pull there.
Oh, well done. We're so
sexist.
We didn't even think about the ladies. Angel Reese will be great for it. She's perfect. Damn, that's good. Whoever said that, that's fantastic. That is a good one.
I'm really surprised we didn't get more LeBron James on there.
LeBron will be,
The dude puts a crown on his head. Like a fake crown on his head, and no one thinks that's not the most wrestling thing.
LeBron is an unintentional villain. He doesn't try
That's
to
the
be a
point,
villain.
though. That's what makes it so great. Is a villain who doesn't think they should be the villain.
That is if he's like Thanos. He's like, I'm doing the right thing. Why do people hate me? It's like, no.
If he just came out all the time and was like, the GOAT is here, he'd be booed out of every building.
No, the imaginary crown was a great moment. You always just think that, is that fake? Like, no, he did it. And it wasn't the night he scored, like, he got the record or something.
It was something like that.
He set a record or something, and he did the record. It was great. I loved it because I'm a LeBron fan. But people who don't like LeBron, they hated it.
Just think of before every match, they ring the bell and he just goes over and takes like 2 minutes to powder his hands. And everyone's like, oh, he's powdering his hands again.
And he puts an imaginary crown on his head after he wins every match. That's pretty good. You're right. That's not bad. That's not bad. Also Jimmy Butler. How do we not think of Jimmy Butler? Dude, Jimmy would be great. I can see Jimmy jumping off top ropes. Jimmy doing all. He was one of those kind of arrows. Oh, he would. He was. Yes, he would change a lot. That's a great point. He would. He would. Sometimes he do he perm his hair and stuff like that. Sometimes he'd be a country guy. Like basically every season he'd kind of have a different feel to him. Yes. Jimmy Butler would be great for that. All right. I know we went deep down the rabbit hole now, and I apologize. I got inspired, the Kelsey thing. All right. Let's get right to it. Let's talk about the NBA playoffs really quick before we get to the Texas transfer portal commitment. Speaking of LeBron James, a 108-106 loss to the Denver Nuggets. Now Denver won that series 4-1. LeBron James' earliest playoff exit of his career. And it was not for lack of effort. I mean, LeBron had 30 and 11, but it was Jamal Murray again. This dude defied the management suggestion because they didn't want him to play. He was dealing with a strained left calf. They figure we're up in this series. There's a good chance we could beat the Lakers without Jamal Murray. But even if we, in the worst case scenario, you rest and then we beat him the next game, it's not the end of the world. But he wanted to play. He insisted on playing and ended up scoring 32 points, had another game-winning shot in this series. That dude is just a beast. And what a luxury that you got the best player on the planet, Nikola Jokic, who, he had 25 and 20. He's 1 assist away from a triple-double. So, yeah, you got that, but that he can take a back seat at times, even in clutch time, to Jamal Murray, who can take on the burden of being the number one guy at times in the playoffs in clutch time. It really is, like I said, that's amazing. And I'll give you a little factoid here. I'll give you a couple of them, but a little factoid about Jamal Murray, because I got it from, I think Nick Wright threw this out there, so I'll give him credit. Nick Wright says Jamal Murray is one of the most unique players in NBA history. 0 All-Star appearances, 0 All-NBA teams, no regular season accolades at all, yet only MJ, Wilt, and AI have more 50-point playoff games. That's crazy. It's wild. You know what?
Yeah.
And he's got 1 iconic playoff run under his belt, 2 other awesome ones, and now this year with a true walk-off buzzer beater and another near buzzer beater and 32 points on 1 leg. I'll admit we don't give enough props to Jamal Murray, but nobody does. That's why he hasn't gotten a lot of accolades either.
And it's that weird thing. He's not an all-star. He's never been an all-star, which is one of those crazy things. But you realize he just has been hurt a lot throughout his career. And so if you look at, the Denver not winning a title, it probably could have happened 3 years ago. Something like that, 2-3 years ago could have been their first one. But Jamal Murray just wasn't able to stay healthy. If he's able to stay healthy through the playoffs, this is a Denver team that can always compete because the pairing of Jokic and Jamal Murray works so well together. It's just both those guys being healthy and on the court. And Jamal Murray just has a problem staying on the court as much as he wants to. But he is clutch. He is someone that performs at very high levels in the playoffs. And as long as he's, now he gets to rest, that little bit of rest you get because they were able to finish the game. I think he kind of knew that as well. If you take me out and this goes 3-2, and then I'm still not going to be 100% in the next game. So let me get there and then actually rest as opposed to trying to warm it up and see if I can go play that next game. Give me a few days off to really just kind of rest my calf. Hopefully it'll get a little bit better. But yeah, part of being great is staying on the court, and that's been his biggest issue. Once he's on it, he's always been good.
Yeah, he even missed 23 games this season. So he, like you said, missed a lot of time, but he insisted on playing. And he said, I was hurt. I wasn't injured is basically what he said. He said, I was available to play, so I was going to play. And he said he was happy and grateful that management let him, because I think he said if management insisted that, no, you can't play, then he said he wouldn't have played. But they were like, we advise you not to play. And he was like, what that mean? That means I can go play? He's like, yeah, but we advise against it. He's like, all right, well, I'm playing then, just so y'all know. And they don't win that game without him. There's no question about it. LeBron was asked, we got this audio from LeBron here, please, Patrick. LeBron was asked about his status with the Lakers and if he indeed was going to be a Laker going forward. I mean, a lot of people are thinking LeBron may retire actually soon. A lot of people are thinking that he may leave the Lakers and try to, get into another situation where he can go somewhere else. Here's what LeBron James had to say.
Tonight, was there any thought at all that, this could have been your last game with the Lakers?
I'm not going to answer that. Appreciate it.
Now, yeah, it was awkward. He actually got up and walked away after that. But I'll give my man Patrick credit because you watch a lot of NBA. You said early this morning, we first talked about this in the 6 o'clock hour. You said basically this was leverage for LeBron. That's why he's not going to really.
There's a good chance that he is not going to give up any of his leverage, whether it fully is leverage or he doesn't know what it is. He's not going to give up his leverage
because maybe he wants to force the Lakers, or he would like to incentivize the Lakers to make certain moves, whatever they may be. We don't know. We can't psychoanalyze LeBron. We don't know what they are. You brought up his son. You brought up Bronny. this report is actually from a few hours ago, but it did say, and this obviously is after LeBron James's media availability there from that audio we just played. It says, this is from The Athletic, the Lakers are open to drafting Bronny James this June to help fulfill LeBron James's dream of playing with his son. Team sources tell Shams Charania, Sam Amick, and others. It says, that they're open to it. I don't know. First, second round, they didn't really specify, but could that have been one of the things that we know LeBron James wants to play with his son? I mean, he's openly talked about that. Could this be one of the things that he is leveraging in these negotiations?
Yeah,
like, hey,
I mean,
draft my son.
Get my son here. Get the coach I want. Go try and make these moves for players I want. Get the things I want done so that I can feel confident going into next year that we have a better shot to win. And if you have the power to do that, I think a lot more players in the NBA would. But it doesn't. Again, he is a guy. You've said this before. It doesn't always leave a franchise very well off once he leaves. But he wants to win. And I think that even, at this point of his career, where he's at the late stage of his career, he still is really focused on trying to get wins. And so for him, the thought of, well, I'll just kind of go out the rest of my years and we'll just have some fun playing. That's not a thing. If he can't feel that he can compete for a championship, I don't think he necessarily wants to keep playing. Now he wants to play with Bronny, but he wants to make the money, and he'll make more money with the Lakers than anywhere else. He also gets to stay in LA where he wants to stay. Exactly. And if they can draft his son, I've seen reports, I think Shams reported this, that the Lakers are probably going to move on from Darvin Ham. And so if he feels that Darvin Ham was not coaching the way he wanted, which there was points in the season, we know earlier in the season, it was when Darvin Ham basically was in the sense of everyone was saying AD and LeBron cannot play 35 minutes a game this entire season. They need to manage their minutes. And so in understanding that, he had to put Austin Reeves and some other guys on the bench so that when LeBron sat down, they had a unit that would come in and play really well. LeBron hated that because he wants to play with the best players.
Yeah.
And so basically the compromise that got reached was, I'm sure at a meeting, he said, well, I don't want to have to do that, but you got to play 30-something for 35 minutes a game. He goes, cool, I'll play 35 minutes a game. And he did all season. Stayed pretty healthy throughout.
It's amazing. He did. It's amazing.
Yeah, and so, but he played way more minutes this season than that was a plan at the beginning. He was supposed to be, managing minutes throughout the season. That wasn't the case. They couldn't because they just didn't have enough depth on this roster. So, there was that where they butted heads on that. There was a couple other roster moves that he was, didn't really like. There was parts of how the team was, coming out of plays, the defensive setup for the rest of the team, all of that they butted heads throughout the season. And LeBron just normally doesn't get along with the coach long term, even if they're winning. They don't necessarily get along long term. I mean, there's plenty of stories in Miami that he wanted Spo gone. Yeah. And wanted to bring in somebody else.
We don't know why that is, because when you bring him in, you almost have to accept this. He is part GM almost.
Yeah.
With what I mean? Like you talk about the decisions he wants to make, and the way he structures his deals too, because he gains leverage the way he structures his deal. Always gives himself an opt out after like 2 years or after 1 year. So like you always have to be actively recruiting LeBron as a team. Even when he's on your team, you're like, whoa, man, you okay? You happy? So yeah, he's smart about it. It's very deliberate and smart and good for him. But he's gonna be the first player to play in the NBA to play with his son, right? That's never happened before.
I do not believe so. I mean, because NBA careers aren't that long, and
yeah, it's a good point. Who the hell plays that long to play with their son? No, you don't play that long. You don't last that long. This dude is, like you said, he's so damn durable. I don't even know how many games he missed, but he didn't miss many. He plays. Even in an era of of load management, LeBron plays.
Yeah.
I'll give LeBron credit for that. He does. He plays.
I mean, there's like 50-50 Sean Kemp did, but didn't know it.
Well done. Well done there. I like that. Well done. All right. I know we're up against it, but man, that was how about this? So you're excited about this because second round is going to be Timberwolves versus Nuggets, right?
Yes.
Ooh, that is going to be interesting because you got a hurt Jamal Murray. So you gotta watch that strained left calf. That's gonna be big because
Yeah.
they're gonna need him versus the Timberwolves. And man, Anthony Edwards, that dude's ready to have a coming out party. We'll see, because man, that Minnesota team, they got some young guns. And Jokic is going to take his game to another level, even though he's playing at a really high level. I think he's got to take it to an even higher level.
And he's going up against Rudy Gobert.
So yes,
one of the best defensive players in the league.
Yeah.
You talk about Karl Anthony Towns versus Anthony Gordon is a really good matchup in that one as well. Like they match up really well against each other. It's going to be a fun series to see. But it is for Jamal Murray and Anthony Edwards. This is a series of you were able to do it against lesser competition that couldn't guard you really strongly. Can you do it against a really good team? I mean, we saw, if you watched last night any of that New Orleans game, you saw Lou Dort just make Brandon Ingram. And I'm assuming Brandon Ingram had some injuries and he is beat up because he played god-awful last night. But part of that, too, was Lou Dort was all over him the entire game. And so when you start to play these teams that have better defenders and better players, and they're going, can you still be that guy? Can you still take that team on your back? Those are going to be the teams. And now you get that second round matchup there is going to be really good. If it's either going to be Clippers or Mavs versus Oklahoma City, that's going to be a good matchup. Either one of those is a good matchup as well. So, like that second round in the Western Conference is going to be fun to watch.
Yeah, Brandon Ingram missed 12 or 14 shots, but you're right. It was more the defense. He's been off too, but
it was both things happening at the same time, and it did not go well.
So the other series last night, Boston beat Miami 102-88. That series is almost over. Boston's up 3-1. And yes, OKC broke out the brooms against the Pelicans, so they're moving on to the next round. Tonight's games, you got Philly at the Knicks, Philadelphia at the New York Knicks. That's New York's up 3-1 in that series. Orlando at Cleveland. That series tied up 2-2. And you have Indiana at Milwaukee. And that series almost over too, because I believe Dame is dealing with an injury now as well.
Dame is dealing with an injury. Chris Middleton left with an injury in the last game. Giannis is still injured. So yes, all Giannis, Dame Lillard, and Chris Middleton, your big three in Milwaukee are all game time decision. Tyrese Halliburton for Indianapolis is also a game time decision. So this game can have no stars. Miles Turner going to be the biggest star in this game. Could be. I would say no stars. Miles Turner's on that team. Miles Turner's been playing amazing.
Yeah, but you're right, man. It's been like that really that's probably the most disappointing storyline of these playoffs is that a lot of your stars have been
there's a second straight year Giannis gets hurt in the right before the playoffs or in the playoffs because he got hurt last year too and get knocked out early. Those Giannis injuries that he's been pretty healthy throughout the season and then at the end of the season just gets just at the very end gets hurt and it kind of tanks your season. The whole Dame Lillard, when they brought him in, it was going to be this big thing. It didn't really work. They fired their coach and brought in Doc Rivers, which didn't fix anything. And and now they're at a point. It's a disappointing. Yeah, if you're a Bucks fan, this is a really disappointing that you could go out to the Pacers in the first round and not a Pacers team where Tyrese Halliburton is playing lights out like he was early in the season. It's more understandable. Just that you're too beat up. Yep. If Giannis is if Giannis comes back, even without Dame and Middleton, there's still a chance he just swings the series enough and beats him because he's just that guy. And there's no one really. I mean, Miles Turner will go against it, but you put Miles Turner in foul trouble then, and you get him off the offensive end. You can't do that. So I don't know what they would do if Giannis just comes back and puts up 50 in 3 straight games and wins the series. But I don't know if he's going to be able to do that with his injuries.
No, that's a good point. Yeah, the injuries right now affecting a lot of squads, and argue that's why a lot of these teams are going to be out, right? Zion, Pelicans are going to be out. Looks like the Heat are going to be out, quick early exit, and looks like the Bucks are going to be a quick early exit too without their star power. All right, we'll push the conversation about the Texas transfer portal commitment to the next segment. It makes sense behind the burnt orange curtain, and we'll also give you the 2025 odds on who's going to be the number 1 overall pick in the draft, because my man Quinn Ewers is getting some love. But if he's going to be the number 1 overall pick, a couple of things he's got to work on. We'll talk about that when we go behind the burnt orange curtain. All of that and more right here on the Rodcast, featuring Patrick Davis on Lifetime Longhorn Rod Babers, coming back on the horn. Hey, what's up, folks? Lifetime Longhorn Rod Babers here. Let me tell you about Dr. Greg Eckert and his fantastic team. They're great. I can personally testify to this because I went there recently. I've gone there a few times, but I went there for a teeth cleaning, just for a checkup, and they did a great job. Such a good job. They actually found that my wisdom teeth were growing in sideways at the time, and it wasn't a disastrous, dire situation, but it was quickly becoming that. So they wanted to act quickly, and they did. They informed me about the entire process, walked me through every step of it, made sure that I was comfortable with the entire process, got the procedure done. I was back at work within a couple of days, and my dental health, my dental hygiene have never been better. So I know some of y'all out there, like me, you may have some dental anxiety. Maybe you've ignored your dental health and your oral hygiene. Don't do it, folks. You need to head on over to Dr. Greg Eckert today. Doesn't matter what it is. Maybe it's something, hopefully it's not as something as big and something as serious as having all your wisdom teeth removed. But even if it's something routine, just like a checkup or just a cleaning or just going in there for teeth whitening or dentures or porcelain crowns or veneers, dental implants, full mouth reconstruction, even root canal therapy, whatever it takes to ensure you're getting the best quality dental care available. That's what Dr. Greg Eckert and his team are all about. That's what they are committed to, folks. And right now, you can get a brand new smile in just one day. One of the things I love about Dr. Greg Eckert, Dr. U, is that he's always on the he's always on the cutting edge of the technological advances in general dentistry, and because of that, he can give you a brand new smile right now in just one day. We're talking about permanently secured to your dental implants, no time spent without teeth. You get temporary fixtures until they can complete your permanent smile, and you'll smile again with confidence and eat freely without pain or discomfort. We're talking about a lifelike permanent solution. So if you've been told your teeth need to be replaced, don't panic. Just call Dr. Greg Eckert today to learn about this revolutionary alternative to dentures. It's a brand new smile in just one day. I know it sounds too good to be true. It's not. It's just Dr. U. It's a complimentary consultation, so you got nothing to lose, but you have so much to gain, because a confident smile can truly change your life, and Dr. U wants to change your life for the better. And if you have dentures and you're more interested in a more permanent option right now, you have dentures already, you also can give Dr. U a call. So 512-345-3166. That's 512-345-3166. Or visit dreckert.com, DRUECKERT.com. All right, so I saw this story. I saw it several places, but I saw this story about NFL 2025 draft odds, and it was essentially looking at the odds of who's going to be the number one overall pick in the 2025 draft. And this is courtesy of DraftKings. It had Shadur Sanders, quarterback at Colorado, at plus 100 draft odds. So we had the shortest odds or the best odds to be drafted number one overall. And second, with the second best odds, tied for second best odds to be the number one overall pick, Carson Beck out of Georgia and Quinn Ewers out of Texas at plus 300. And then after them is Jalen Milroe at plus 950. I don't think Jalen Milroe is a realistic option to be the number one overall quarterback. He's just not a skilled enough passer. And if you're going to be just if you're not a really skilled high level passer coming out, and you don't have those types of traits, then you got to be just the freakiest athlete at the quarterback position that we've seen in a decade plus, like a Michael Vick or a Cam Newton. And that's not Jalen Milroe either. So I don't see that happening, but I like Jalen Murray. He's a good athlete, but he's not those guys.
Plus, you're talking about a new coaching system coming into a place he's already at, which is going to be an interesting world for him to learn with Saban leaving and DeBoer coming in. We have no idea how that'll affect everything as well.
No, I will say this: it could help his draft stock tremendously because that is that's a sophisticated passing game. It is because the OC is now with Seattle.
But it could, or it could hinder it, because he cannot fit into that new system, and he could have issues trying to pick it up. So there's two ways it could go either way.
Yeah, you're right. It could expose the flaws in his skill set just as well as it could showcase them.
Yeah, I mean, we saw with Quinn Ewers it was too much too early, and it's had to be slowed down and then sped back up as years go by. But you're talking about Milroe already being a starter and now having to basically learn a new system and find a middle ground that works all, in a preseason, in spring, and then, getting ramped up and in non-conference, trying to figure it out.
No, I agree with you. It's a good point. I didn't think about this. So that could accelerate his development or it could stunt it overall. Yeah. And we don't know which one it's going to be. But I do like Kalen DeBoer. And Kalen DeBoer has won everywhere he's gone. And Kalen DeBoer is known for being an offensive guy, an offensive mind. He should be able to get the best out of Jalen Milroe. We'll see. But my thing about Quinn Ewers, I think Quinn Ewers could be the number one overall pick. He could be. He's got that type of ceiling as a player. I think two things specifically he's going to have to work on. And I noticed it, and I brought it up earlier this year, but I've seen now that we're into the 2025 draft, or at least having discussions about it since we're done with the 2024 draft. I've seen people now bringing it up. The fantasy community is bringing it up, and NFL scouts were bringing it up to me prior to this. The sack to pressure rate of Quinn Ewers, or pressure to sack percentage. You can call it, I've seen it described as both, but pressure to sack percentage. And that's the amount of sacks that you take compared to the amount of pressure that you as a quarterback have to deal with. And Quinn was really good in 2022. He was at 13.9%, which is a good number. And by the way, part of the reason I say Jalen Milroe is not going to be number one overall pick, I'll give you his number in a second. But Quinn Ewers, he had for some reason, a regression in his pressure to sack rate, and this is the best way that teams are trying to quantify sack avoidance. It is not a stat yet, avoided sacks, but it should be. I think we all agree how important it is, and you can see it in your mind. The quarterbacks are really good at it, and just because you're mobile and just because you're a dual threat quarterback doesn't mean you're going to be good at sack avoidance. It's more about the pocket science of being able to move in the pocket and knowing when you have to abandon the pocket and when it's collapsing and extending plays and second reaction plays. And some guys naturally are better at it than others. But Quinn Ewers, his pressure to sack percentage, 13.9 in 2022, jumped to 25.2 in 2023. This is something that Shadur Sanders has to worry about too, because he also is above 25%. And he was in 2023, I should say. He was at 25%, just like Quinn. Both of those guys have to improve on that. Quinn's got to improve on it too. That was that drastic leap for Quinn or maybe regression, I should say, in Quinn from pressure to sack rate. I think it's because he stares at pressure. When pressure is being applied to Quinn, Quinn will often look at it. This season, he decided to scramble more. Instead of looking at the pressure and taking the sack, he would scramble more. Now, sometimes he would take self sacks, but he was scrambling more, which is good. What Sark wants him to do is become a pocket scientist, figure out, how to create more space in the pocket, avoid the sacks, feel the pressure, and avoid the sacks, but keep your eyes downfield so you can still get through deeper into the progressions. And he doesn't do that as much. He usually abandons the progressions after the first or the second, and then you'll see him scramble or he takes that sack. That's the next level to his game if he's going to be the number one pick overall. And I think it's in him, but that's what he's got to prove this year. Also, the deep ball's got to get better, but his deep ball got a lot better in like his last 7 games. His deep ball has gotten much better in the last 7 games. And the hope is that if he shows off his deep ball and shows NFL scouts that, he's more accurate on those throws down the field, I think those are probably the 2 biggest issues that Quinn needs to work on: the deep ball and his sack avoidance, or feeling the pressure instead of seeing the pressure. That's what I would throw out there. That's keeping him from being the number 1 overall. I can't see him being the number 1 overall pick the way he handles pressure right now, or at least he did last season, and with his current deep ball. But last 7 starts, deep ball QBR, 20 yards or more down the field, 92, completion percentage, 43%, yards per attempt, 14.8, and off-target percentage, only 25%. In his first 15 starts, his off-target percentage was 44%. His yards per attempt on deep ball, 7.9. Completion percentage was 24%, and his QBR was only 23. So he's been much better in the last 7 starts throwing the deep ball. That's got to improve too. So he's better throwing the deep ball later, but he's taking too many sacks. So he's got to keep the deep ball improvement going, but also he's got to improve on sack avoidance.
Yeah, and it's a hard thing to train for. There is no real proven way to do it, so he's got to figure out all the different ways to try over it. I'm sure he's got the best people working with him. He knows what he's got to work on, but it's going to be a task that there isn't necessarily an easy solution to of trying to figure out how do you feel somebody and he listen for somebody and do all those things that do not come naturally to you and don't have the natural feel for. That for some guys they just do.
Some guys say Penix does, Mahomes does. And by the way, what I have studied about sack avoidance, we'll talk about it later in the offseason, the college numbers translate to the NFL. There very rarely is a big difference, and that's why Quinn's got to prove he's not 2023 sack avoidance Quinn. He's better like 2022 sack avoidance Quinn. Okay, let's talk about the latest transfer portal commitment for Texas basketball. He comes from Vanderbilt. His name is Malik Presley. He's actually coming back to the Central Texas area. He's a San Marcos product, but coming back, and he'll have 3 years of eligibility left. 6'6", 200. What are your thoughts, Patrick, about Malik Presley? Is this a young man that's gonna help Texas immediately, or what is do you think the plan with him?
I mean, I think he's going to be more of a long-term project. He didn't play a ton for Vanderbilt last season, but he has good size, good length, good athleticism. So a lot of things that you can use to help build. He may be a little bit slight too, so they'll probably want to put him in that strength and conditioning a little bit more, get his muscles up a little bit better so he can play a little bit tougher on the defensive end. It's 6'6". If you can get a little bit more muscle on you, you can start to play up a little bit. And play with a little bit bigger forwards, but you just don't want to lose any of the explosiveness. So they may be trying to work on that as well some with him. But this is a project where you are able to get a guy that you didn't know if you would have a scholarship for. Now with everything happening, you're able to say, we'll have an extra scholarship, add a little bit more depth, add a piece that early in the season may play some, especially as a defender at 6'6" with a good wingspan that is able to at least put up a face against some non-conference teams that probably won't have as much size as the Longhorns will this year, because they are going to have a number of guys at 6'6", 6'7", in that kind of range. So if you see that, I think there's some pieces, but I think this is more. You get 13 scholarships. Rodney Terry likes to run about an 8-man rotation. So this is a way for him to bring in some other guys on that roster. A couple other transfers that you see out there. Reedus Petritus was a guy from Air Force that they were looking at. He committed to Cal over the weekend. And I believe he'll be a starter at Cal. He was going to be fighting for a rotation spot with Texas. So he will not be coming, which opens up another roster, another scholarship for you. And Brandon Garrison, the 6'11" true freshman out of Oklahoma State, played for Oklahoma State as a true freshman last year, will be 3 more years of eligibility for him as well. He has posted on his Instagram that I believe he'll be deciding at noon today where he's going to be going. It's behind between Texas, Oklahoma, and then Arkansas. He just visited. People still believe it's between Texas and Oklahoma. Arkansas just got Joseph Adu, who we played against, played for Tennessee last year. He transferred over there, so it's unlikely that he would go there. But you don't know. You never know in any of these situations. But that's 3 SEC schools basically he has talked to about where he's going. He could technically go back to Oklahoma State too, but you're more likely thinking Oklahoma, Texas, or Arkansas is your big 3. But that will know at noon. That's a big one for Texas because if they can get him to come in, that helps solidify your front court where you only really have Caden Shedrick and Jason Kent is going to be playing some Nick Cody, the freshman, coming in. But you don't have a lot of size right now in that front court. You like to bring in that. And then with that last transfer spot, you'd like to get a wing maybe with a little bit of size too to add up. Now that you've got enough guards, Larry Drew is a backup point guard. Jordan Pope is going to be your starting backup guard. And then you just brought in as well, Max. So you brought in some players to help out in the guard position. If you can bring in Brandon Garrison and then one more, 6'8" guy, 6'7", 6'8", that wing to maybe play inside a little bit as well. That would be a big get, but we'll see who they go for. And we'll see what the announcement of Brandon Garrison is around noon today.
Yeah, because he transfer portal window actually, I believe the spring window closes pretty soon.
Closes tomorrow, I believe, right? May 1st, I believe.
Yeah, I think you're right. Officially, so I don't maybe like midnight or something. It might
maybe midnight. It may be some point tomorrow. I don't know the exact timing.
I'm not sure.
I know it closes May 1st. I think the football one closes today.
The football one closes today,
and then basketball's tomorrow. I believe.
And basketball's tomorrow. Okay,
yeah.
So they both within 48 hours of one another.
Yeah.
The football one closes today, so you'll at least get clarity on who's actually in the portal, and it won't be obviously they can commit still after that, but in terms of their entry into the portal, that's the last that they can put their names into the portal.
Yes.
So we'll get more clarity about who's in it. All right. So good breakdown there from Patrick. We come back. We got off the record on the other side. People already hating on Dion. We'll talk about that when we come back. All of that and more right here on the Rodcast featuring Patrick Davis. Lifetime Longhorn Rod Davis coming back on the horn. All right, welcome back to the Rodcast. Time for Off the Record. A couple of some sports related stories here. That Jake Paul versus Mike Tyson fight on July 20th that is going to happen here in Texas. That's going to be in Jerry World, if I'm not mistaken,
Yes.
right? It is now officially sanctioned as a professional fight.
We'll count on their records.
Yep. It will count
And
on
that
both
means
Mike.
they can go for knockouts, and I am now interested in this fight.
Yeah, they went past the exhibition phase of it. Yeah,
Yeah.
because it was exhibition. That means that certain different rules apply.
Yeah, because they've done the exhibitions before, and it was like you couldn't go for knockouts.
No.
And no one
You can
wants to
wear
watch
headgear,
that.
I think, if you want to.
Yeah,
Headgear
it is
if you
all.
want
Yeah,
to.
no, I want to see it go for knockouts.
You want to see? Everybody wants to see Jake Paul get knocked out.
Who wants to see Mike Tyson fight not for knockouts?
No, you want to see Jake, and not only do you want to see Mike Tyson knock him out, but you want to see Jake Paul get knocked out.
Yes,
that kind of goes through. But people don't like him, and it's strange now in this fight. Mike Tyson's going to be kind of the fan favorite because Jake Paul is hated and disliked by a lot of Americans.
Yeah, at least for one fraction of the audience, because the other part of the audience
because it'll be
are Jake Paul guys, and they think Mike Tyson is the old guard, and the old people need to go away, and this is the future, and you guys don't know what you're talking about, and he's going to beat the crap out of him. So there's two sides to it.
It is. It's a
we
good
just
story.
happen to be over the age of like 30, so we're not in the Jake Paul camp.
Yeah, the Jake Paul people aren't even real sports fans, though, necessarily.
Yeah.
They're just Jake Paul fans.
Yeah.
Mike Tyson has like real sports fans around him because and I would say there's a very interesting kind of dichotomy at play with both of these athletes here, because there's always, in whether professional fighting or you're talking about MMA, whatever, most fighters come from poverty.
Yeah,
they come from poverty. They come from kind of close to poverty line. Yeah, they literally were fighting for their lives and fighting for meals. That's why they became fighters. And I'm telling you, that's the truth. Bernard Hopkins told me that, and it's the truth for the most part. And Jake Paul, that's not really how he ascended in the fighting community. It didn't really come from that. And by the way, he's skilled too, by the way, and he works at it, his craft. But it's coming from a different place. And Mike Tyson is the epitome of, oh, no, I fight because I came from nothing. And that's where my appetite for confrontation and fighting comes from, because I had to fight. I had to. And I never stopped. And it's in me. And so it's just different. That's a different storyline too, that I think it's more of a hidden storyline. But I like it. Like I said, there's a lot of reasons why I won't order the fight, but
I think it's just on Netflix. I think it's just on
Netflix. Oh, yeah. Really?
I think it's viewable because Netflix is trying to get into the live streaming game. They're trying to get into live, and this is, I think, one of the big things they're doing to get people to subscribe and understand that Netflix can do live. So I don't know if they're going to charge an extra fee for it or what, but I know it's Netflix, I believe. So
yeah. As I said, I don't know. Yeah, it'd be great if you got the Netflix subscription, you get it almost like when the NFL does their streaming games.
Yeah.
Get it. If you already got Peacock, you get it. If they try to charge you for an extra, which they could do, that would suck. Yeah. They should make people. But I will say they did cut off you can't share passwords anymore with Netflix. They've cut that out. And maybe, they can try to get some people back on with these types of live events. I think that's coming.
Yeah, because they got the rights to wrestling coming up too.
Yeah, there you go.
They got that coming
Try
up.
to get some people back on. I got Netflix still, though. I mean, I never got rid of. Some people got rid of Netflix after that. I never got rid of it. Yeah, and I never stole anybody's password.
And Mike Tyson currently, I believe, is already into his no cannabis, no sex until the fight, to be extra angry.
Oh, he wants to be in a bad mood.
He wants to be in a bad mood. Fight?
Yeah, I still am afraid of Mike Tyson. I would never fight Mike Tyson. No matter how old
I'm afraid of no cannabis, no sex Mike Tyson for sure.
Yeah, right. But I will say, Father Time comes for us all, and this is also another storyline. This is Father Time, right? Father Time is working against Mike Tyson. How's he gonna look? Remember, even back in the day when Mike was in his prime, guys, if you got Mike past the second round, Mike started to get in trouble.
Yeah.
Mike, even remember that early on, Mike. If you got Mike usually his fights in last pass is like the third round. Mike knocked you out by that. You got Mike past like the third round. That's what Buster Douglas did. Buster Douglas just pushed Mike a little bit. Mike wasn't a fighter that had a lot of cardio conditioning. Mike was power. he was just a force of nature in there. And guys couldn't survive more than 2 or 3 rounds. But you took Mike more than 2 or 3 rounds, you had a shot. We'll see if Jake Paul can do that. All right, we'll come back. We'll get into there's a couple of Dallas Cowboys nuggets I want to throw in there. We got Raj rant. We'll talk about what used to be one of the best bargains in the NFL that no longer is the case. We'll also get into this discussion happening just in its infancy between the Big Ten and the SEC could change college sports as we know it. All of that and more right here on the Rodcast featuring Patrick Davis. I'm lifetime Longhorn Rod Babers coming back on the horn. All right, welcome back to the Rodcast. It is a top of the charts Tuesday. That's when Patrick, the Ideationaire, plays jams that reach the top of the Billboard charts on this day in history. My favorite musically themed day of the week. So we appreciate all of his efforts. Also, he put his energy into the big fat poll of the day, and it is an interesting conversation. I think it's been a good one so far. Patrick wants to know what current pro athlete would be the best wrestling villain? What current pro athlete would be the best wrestling villain?
Yes.
And came up with some interesting ones. I think I threw out there the Kelsey brothers as a tag team. I think they'd be great. I think Jimmy Butler would be awesome. I can already see his persona, kind of sometimes he's a pretty boy, sometimes he's a country boy. Still changes it up a little bit. I like that. Coming off the top rope, a lot of aerodynamic stuff with Jimmy Butler. Of course, Draymond Green is just, I mean, he would easily be the most iconic of the villains because he would be hated.
Yeah.
He knows he's petty. He knows how to cheap shots all the time.
Always complaining to the officials.
Oh, complaining to the refs all the time. Oh man, he's just so natural. And he's got a mouthpiece. He can talk.
Yeah.
He can talk. So yeah, Draymond Green's probably the top guy on that list. Definitely. There are a bunch of other ones though. Yeah, I love the Angel Reese.
I like the Angel Reese
suggestion.
Poll. I think that was a good call.
Was a quality one. That was quality. That was a good one. It really was. Because I didn't think about it, but got the trash talk going on. Got the presence, like she, you know, what I mean, very formidable presence because she's so tall and athletic. I can say, and she's attractive, so that works too. You know, with the female wrestlers, got it helps when they're attractive. Yeah, that's a good one. That's outside the box on that one. I like that. I'm with you. Yeah, so that's the big fat poll today. Check it out on the text line 512-447-3776. Also, we'll have your horn headlines here coming up momentarily. Get you updated, educated, and informed on the big headlines of the day. We have not hit the Cowboys news, but the details are out about the Zeke contract, so we'll get into that. And also another acquisition by the Cowboys. Yeah,
hey, they did something.
The Cowboys fans don't care anymore. But you got the draft and acquisition. So if you're a Cowboys fan, now you should start feeling a little bit better about the team and the roster.
Until Fantasy Football posted a thing yesterday, and they said, who's the RB1? And posted the picture of the 4 Cowboys running backs.
You know it is. It's Zeke plus it's a four-headed monster right now. Zeke and was it Royce? Is it Royce?
Royce Freeman, Rico Dowdle, and Deuce Vaughn.
Rico Dowdle's the other one.
I mean, right now, as far as I can tell, Rico Dowdle's RB1. Because if they're saying Zeke's not RB1,
he's not. He shouldn't be.
Well, Deuce Vaughn's not RB1. Royce Freeman's not an RB1.
Rico's not an RB1 either.
I get it, but
that's the closest thing you might have to it.
But you know what Jerry says? We like our guys.
I know, but they should trade for a running back. And they should not. And by the way, they shouldn't wait on, because I think they also will wait on cut down day. Don't wait that long. They should go trade for a running back. And the Texans, honestly, that we've been talking about this. We started out, I think, kind of joking in jest a little bit about them talking to the Texans, but it does make sense that they reach out and see what that price tag is on Damian Pierce.
And it makes
perfect sense.
He had a bad year last year because of the run scheme. If you're not running that same run scheme that the Texans are, then he was really good his rookie season.
Exactly. Yeah, he'd be cheap. You get him for a couple more years. Cowboys should look into that because they still don't have a running back right now. They just don't. But they got a committee of running backs.
No, they have a lot of good number 2s.
Yeah.
They have plenty of number 2s.
Hey, you add up all those 2s and you got a 6.5 or an 8 or something. You add them all up.
So what's the old George Carlin joke? I've never slept with a 10, but one night I slept with 5 2s.
There you go. Hey, come on now. That maths up. I think somehow that maths it up. I like that. That's great. That's good stuff. All right, so we'll get to the horn headlines, and then we'll get some Cowboys news here. But we also got to get to this college football story because it's a doozy. And it's just they're just talking about it, but they're talking about it right now. Well, if it's being reported, I should say that they're talking about it. Then it's been whispered about and been discussed for a while, but now it's being reported. They want the people to know. They want to take kind of their own public survey and see what people think about this idea. and if there'll be a lot of negative blowback about it. So we'll get to that. But first, let's get informed, educated, and updated with the Horn headlines with Patrick Davis.
All right, your Horn headlines brought to you by Top Gun Rentals and Lawn Equipment. Texas baseball will play their final non-conference game of the regular season tonight, facing Sam Houston at Disch-Falk Field. Texas will send Charlie Hurley to the mound, and a team they have a 10-game win streak against, and the Bearcats. Texas will try to keep their hot bats going as they enter the final 3 weeks of the season, currently hitting 90 home runs so far in the season, which ranks 8th nationally. In the NFL, the Chiefs gave tight end Travis Kelce a significant raise with a new 2-year contract worth reportedly $34 million. The new deal will make the 34-year-old Kelce the highest paid tight end in the league and keep him in Kansas City through at least 2025. In the NBA, 2 more teams were sent home, with the Oklahoma City Thunder sweeping the Pelicans with a 97-89 win, where they outscored New Orleans 27-18 in the fourth quarter. And the Nuggets finished off the Lakers with Jamal Murray playing through a calf injury to score 32 points and hit the game-winning jumper to end the Lakers season. The Celtics also dominated their matchup with the Heat, winning 102-88 and taking a commanding 3-1 series lead. However, they did lose Kristaps Porzingis to a calf injury in the first half. Tonight, the 76ers will try to keep their season alive against the Knicks. The Magic and Cavs will face off with their series tied at 2-2, and the Pacers will look to take advantage of a beat-up Bucks team with Giannis, Lillard, and Middleton, all a game-time decision in a series the Pacers lead 3-1. In Major League Baseball, the Astros and Rangers are both back in action today, with Houston beginning their series against the Guardians, with Hunter Brown looking to get his first win of the season, and the Rangers kick off their series with the Nationals pregame starting at 6:30 right here on the Horn, and that is your Horn headlines.
All right, thank you, Patrick, for the Horn headlines. We appreciate those. All right, before we get to this Cowboys news, let's hit this NCAA. Well, it is an NCAA story, but it's much bigger than that. So CBS Sports was reporting it, but I've seen it from Pete Thamel. I've seen it from Brett McMurphy. A lot of folks have this story by now. The SEC and the Big Ten, which are your two, you can make the argument, the real power conferences now. That, you know, there's the power conferences, the Big Ten, the SEC, and then there are the other conferences, kind of a middle class, if you will, the Big 12 and the ACC now. And then there's the lower class of conferences, which is the Group of Five. Essentially, I don't know if you guys watch Curb Your Enthusiasm. It's a great episode, and it's done now. Actually, had the last episode of Curb Your Enthusiasm just earlier this year. But there's a great episode. I want to say it was last season, not this most recent season, but the season before that, where when Larry David goes into a restaurant and he recognizes that half of the restaurant, there are a lot of attractive people, like basically all the good looking people are sat in one part of the restaurant, which is where all the windows are, and then they sit the unattractive people in another part of the restaurant, and he always wants to try to go sit with the attractive people, but they always sit them with the unattractive people, right? So essentially they got an ugly section of the restaurant. That's what college football is about, to have an ugly section. It's about to have an ugly section, and the Group of Five is about to be the ugly section of college football. Once all these changes are done, that'll be the ugly section, and nobody wants to be seated in the ugly section. And anytime players are being recruited, they're gonna obviously lean more toward the power conferences, and they're also going to, whenever they do ascend at a Group of Five school, they're just gonna transfer to a power conference, which we talked about. But here's the story. So the SEC and the Big Ten are at the center of developing a revenue sharing plan with players that would essentially change sports as we know it, college sports as we know it. Apparently, they're calling it the modern model. It would not only share revenue with players, but also perhaps settle the House versus the NCAA lawsuit that will start trial in January 2025. The antitrust lawsuit is a class action complaint alleging the NCAA and power conferences have conspired to suppress athletes' compensation. The lawsuit continues to be the top hurdle for programs in planning college athletics' future. Settlement money alone could cost universities between $15 and $20 million. Athletic directors have been frustrated trying to figure out how to rearrange their budgets or otherwise account for a payment of that size. ESPN reported yesterday that now Power 4 conferences are in deep discussions regarding a revenue sharing plan. So they've joined essentially the SEC and the Big Ten, who were CBS reported that they initially were in discussions about this because remember they formed a Big Ten SEC joint advisory group. That was announced in February, and the belief is that this advisory group, which is made up of university presidents, chancellors, and ADs, that they've been talking about this since February among Big Ten SEC officials, and now the Big 12 and the ACC have finally joined the party. Like, hey, man, what are y'all talking about up here? We've been hearing a lot of whisper about revenue sharing plan with players. What's going on here? And now the Power Four conferences are in on this thing, too. Now, House, if you go look at it, the House versus the NCAA, there are some sports attorneys who believe this could be the final blow, the death blow to the NCAA. Because it's an antitrust case, damages sought could be tripled. If the case goes to jury and the NCAA loses, which, by the way, it doesn't matter. If it goes to jury or if it's just a judge deciding, the NCAA is going to lose.
Yeah.
That's why they don't want to go to court anymore, because they keep losing. Because the NCAA, every time they go to court, whether it's a Supreme Court or whether it's a regional court or whether it's a state Supreme Court, they lose. That's why they won't even protest or enforce their own rules against transfer, against multiple transfers, which they just changed, by the way, and they won't enforce their own NIL rules. They can't, because when they go to court, they just lose. They don't have the money to keep going to court. So because they keep losing, they're afraid to go to court, and they have multiple antitrust, essentially antitrust lawsuits against them right now. At least 3 major ones that we know of, and other ones that are coming. And the House suit claims college athletes are entitled to a share of television revenue as well as money from their likeness appearing in video games from the past. So because it's an antitrust suit, you can triple the damages. So the association could be on the hook for at least $4.2 billion is what the NCAA might have to pay, something along those lines, if they lose this case. And the decision makers, and by the way, they would have to pay retroactively, 7,000 current and former athletes would be entitled to that money. Mitt Winter of sports law attorney told CBS Sports it's the case that could end the NCAA. So instead of having to pay this crazy amount of money if they lose the case, I think the SEC and the Big Ten are saying, hey, why don't we have a version of a settlement? It's not a settlement per se, but it would give obviously the plaintiffs in the case, it would give them options. Because right now, if you look at it, since at least July of 2021, major college athletics has been stuck in neutral as NIL has emerged, because the landmark Alston versus NCAA case also stripped the NCAA of its ability to oversee and enforce NIL rules and compensation, and they've been further gutted and emasculated because right now they're a little bit more than just a figurehead. There's nothing really they can do. So when the NCAA is eventually destroyed, disassembled, whenever it no longer exists, or at least in its current state doesn't have the power and the authority over major college sports, what will rise up in its absence? That is the question. And that's what they're trying to figure out right now. There's no doubt, Patrick, I think this is happening. I just don't know the timeline on it and how it's going to look, and if it'll, like I said, once it goes to court again, because this is going to challenge Title IX. That's federal legislation.
Yeah.
Which means you got to settle that in the federal court. I mean, there's going to be so much red tape and bureaucracy you got to work through. I don't know how long this could end up taking.
No, and I mean, I think this is the 2-pronged system of how it should be happening, which is revenue sharing is across sports and it is equal to everybody, and we don't do a paid by player. And NIL covers the other end of that. The better players make more money, because the NIL will give the better players more money, but you do revenue share across everything. So you can make revenue sharing across either all sports. The revenue you bring in from one sport pays everybody, or if you want to try and make it more widespread, it goes across everything. And maybe, you fraction out how many people are on a team and that budget and however you want to break it down. But I think there's 2 parts of what the system should be. NIL should just be a thing, and I know it's used and it's overused in too many bad ways, and there's not regulations on it. But name, image, and likeness in a world where everyone else is profiting off of your name, image, and likeness, it's crazy in 2024 that they say you can't even sell your own name. You can't sell an autograph. That's crazy. So, so to not have that in there, the revenue sharing is a reality of what the system is now, and the fact that everybody realizes there's too much money involved to not give any to the athletes. So that one, I don't think you have to then set up of, well, the quarterback makes more than the punter. But at the same part, you could say, well, the quarterback makes the same amount as the backup guard on the basketball team, on the women's basketball team. They make the same amount of money. We're just revenue sharing across everything.
It's like a base payment, base
and
salary,
everybody gets something. You're playing college athletics, you get your scholarship, and you get this. And we don't know what it is until it's set at from this time frame to this time frame. I mean, they do it in the NFL. They give out at the end of the season, if there's extra money that they made more than they projected, then they send everybody a check. So that is kind of more of what you expect to happen. Is at the end of the season, here everybody gets a check, and you all get it. This is your cut of what we did. Now, how much they do that? If it's they split it up and say, well, college football makes the most money, so they get the lion's share of it, and then swimming and diving gets this cut, and track and field gets this cut, and that way. But I don't think you should break it down as players. But it's the future. That's what's going to happen, and the more you fight it, the worse it's going to end up for the people who don't want to do it. And once it starts becoming employees, it opens up a whole nother can of worms about all the legalities of employees versus being able to just revenue share, where you can kind of get away with a little bit more, of not having to provide benefits and all this other stuff.
No, you're right about that. Nobody wants them to open that Pandora's box. So if you're employees now, let's talk about insurance. Let's talk about benefits. Let's talk about, long-term 401ks. And it's just like, okay, now we might as well just go pro with this thing. I think they still want to keep it where they are student athletes, but you're right. I think the revenue sharing, it's going to be interesting how they do that. Are we talking about just football and revenue generating sports here? And then that a lot of that money going to supplement and support the other sports that aren't revenue generating sports? Are we talking about just only for Big Ten and SEC members who can afford it because they're making so much money? You know what I mean? It's like I said, it's a very difficult question to answer, but they need to sort through all this stuff. And the truth is, sorry, go ahead.
And are we talking about the NCAA revenue sharing, where it is across the board, Power 4 teams, this is what you make, or this conference, this is what you make? Or is it team by school basis? And
it can't be. Ooh, that's asking too much. You got,
and that's what I'm saying. But those are all the problems they have, because I can guarantee you the Big 12 and SEC want to make it school by school, or the Big 10 and SEC would want to make it school by school, because they'll dominate the industry even more.
Oh yeah, exactly. But they can give it to the conference, and then the conferences make more money. The Big Ten SEC would make more money, like they do with the college football playoff revenue share.
Yeah.
And then they would divide it up against the member schools. So you could do it that way to make it easier. But there's no doubt about it. The truth is, this will further, even if it happens and they include the Power 4, or if this is a Big Ten SEC thing, this will further separate the have and the have-nots. I mean, I was doing some research just in the break, because if you go look at college football playoff representation, New Year's 6 bowl representation, and BCS bowl representation. So you're going way back in the system. Basically 31%, and basically matching 62% of the representation in all of those bowl championship series and the New Year's 6 and the college football playoff games were Big Ten and SEC representation. If you go look at the 20 teams who earn the most bids in the college football playoff, BCS, and New Year's 6 bowls, it's all SEC, Big Ten, and ACC pretty much, plus Notre Dame. And if you go look at total viewership from 2016 to 2022, ABC, CBS, NBC, Fox, and main ESPN, 65% of your TV viewership is SEC and Big Ten. It's we are moving toward an Android iPhone situation with major college sports where you only have two choices. iPhone and Android dominate the smartphone market. 99% of the smartphone market in America is Android, iPhone. If you know somebody without one of those types of smartphones, don't trust them unless it's Elon Musk, somebody like that. But it's same thing with college sports. I think more and more we're going to get to the point where they're monopolizing all the talent, all the revenue. 87% of the 2024 NFL draft picks played in Power 5, which will be Power 4, Power 5 programs, or Notre Dame. Throw them in there too. So the talent, the money, the viewership, all starting to become monopolized by power conferences, but even more so, just those two major power conferences, which are the SEC and the Big Ten. So get used to it. It's just only going to continue the separation. All right, real quick, we'll push the Raj rant to next segment. Let me give you your Cowboys nuggets here before we get to the break. So the details were released, Patrick, about Ezekiel Elliott's deal. It is a $3 million deal, 1 year deal, $3 million total, but $2 million guaranteed. What say you? Too expensive, or was that cost effective for Zeke?
I mean,
he's bringing.
It's too expensive, but it's not. I mean, I'm not going to squabble over $1 million. I'm not I get in today's world, but in the NFL and what you're talking about, cheap. I'm not going to squabble on it. But yes, you should not have paid him after he underperformed for the Patriots for $3 million last year in a market where you could got him. Who else was calling him? Who are you bidding against?
Nobody.
That's what I'm saying. So that's why it's too much, because you could have got him for less, but you wanted to get him in there happy and friendly, and that's what you did. So it doesn't bother me that it is too much, but it does not bother me that they maybe lost out on $1 million.
But don't you think? Yeah, but you're right about that. But isn't this like so apropos for the Cowboys that you have to pay more money because you waited too late and miscalculate the running back market?
They didn't miscalculate. This was the plan. This has been the plan from the day they cut Zeke. The plan was to bring him back.
No, but it's the plan. It's even if it was the plan, you still miscalculated the market. You should have brought him in, and you should have brought in another running back.
I agree they miscalculated. I just don't believe Jerry Jones ever thought Zeke was not going to finish his career as a Cowboy.
Oh, no, I don't. You're right about that. No, I think he would have brought him in. You're right about that. He's probably giddy about that. But my point is, if you had brought in another running back, you still could have brought in Zeke if you wanted to.
You could have drafted one.
You could have drafted one. This is a really deep. It's not a deep running back. It wasn't a deep running back draft class, but it was a deep running back free agency market, really deep.
Yeah.
But like you said, they waited, and just like the CeeDee Lamb contract, just like Dak's contract, you wait, the price tag goes up. Today's price is not yesterday's price, Jerry. You should know that. Right? Today's price is not yesterday's price. We know that. It's called inflation.
No, and I've seen this text a few times online over the past week or so about people saying, well, since the running back market's so devalued, then why do you need a running back? And those are two separate things. The running back market being devalued means they're paying running backs less. It does not mean you need one any less. It just means they're paying them less.
This is the comparison I make to guys. They're teachers.
Yeah.
Think about teachers are underpaid, right? Teachers are paid like
very
crap.
Undervalued.
How important are they though?
Extremely
crucial. Extremely important. So the importance of their job does not reflect their value and what they're being paid.
And a bad teacher can bring a whole thing down.
Oh man. Think about how many generations a bad teacher screws up. Just generations. That's what I'm saying. So yes, I agree with you on that. Cowboys here. Michael Gallup. Remember they cut Michael Gallup in March. He is signing with the Raiders. There you go. He's going to sign with the Las Vegas Raiders,
who have a bunch of wide receivers there. People are not quite sure on that one either. But best of luck. Wish best of luck to Michael Gallup.
1 year. Yeah, 1 year, $3 million deal. So they get him on the cheap. And the Cowboys, they actually have an acquisition. They brought in Damian Williams, linebacker Damian Williams, who ended last year on the active roster, but did not play in a game. But there's gonna be more depth at the linebacker position. So there you go, Damian Wilson coming in for the guy. He was with the Chiefs for a while, and he was with the Cowboys before, early in his career. But he's most recently he spent 4 seasons with the 4 seasons with the team before signing with the Chiefs in 2019. and then he spent 2 seasons with them. And then most recently, before his latest brief stint with the Cowboys, he spent 2021 with the Jacksonville Jaguars and 2022 with Carolina. So he bounced around, but he's been with the Cowboys before and kind of bounced around after that. So just depth of the position. That's all you need to know. All right, we come back. We got Rod's rant of the day on the other side, and we'll let you know what used to be the biggest bargain in the NFL, or one of them, no longer the case, right here on the Rodcast featuring Patrick Davis on Lifetime Longhorn. Rod Davis coming back on the horn. Hey, what's up, folks? Lifetime Longhorn, Rod Babers. Aside from the traffic, Austin is a great city. It just continues to grow because people keep moving to this city. Anytime they come visit, they want to call it home, and I can't blame them. As our city continues to grow and thrive, so do our friends over at Ironworkers Local Union 482. Many of the iconic landmarks that we love in this city were actually built and constructed by the skilled craftsmanship of Ironworkers Local Union 482. They don't go to the office. They're the ones who actually build it. So if you're looking for an exciting employment opportunity, or you want a refreshing career change, or you want to feel valued by your employer, you can become a valued member of this prestigious organization, Ironworkers Local Union 482. They're hiring 3,000 people right now for another big project they're constructing right here in Central Texas. They're offering competitive wages, competitive benefits, and a pension plan. They even offer training for unskilled labor through their apprenticeship program. Become a member of Ironworkers Local 482 and take pride in the type of teamwork and craftsmanship that helps shape the future of our great city. Maximize your potential and be your best self today. Simply go online and apply at ironworkers482.org. That's ironworkers482.org. All right, welcome back to the Rodcast. I want to get to this little NFL nugget here. This Travis Kelce signing, which it wasn't under the radar because my man Patrick brought it up in the Horn headlines there. But there are a lot of other, I think, topics that have been in the sports world, especially with the draft happening right now, NBA playoffs, that are more top of mind and more topical. And I get that. But I've always been on the bandwagon that the Travis Kelce contract with the Chiefs was one of the best bargains in all of sports because of his productivity compared to what he was being paid. Now he's just signed a 2-year extension with the Super Bowl champion Kansas City Chiefs, Patrick Mahomes' favorite target. And it's a 2-year, $34.2 million deal. It's going to get $17 million in 2024, $17.2 million in 2025, most of which is going to be guaranteed, I believe, by March. So essentially, the 2 years a fully guaranteed deal for him. It'll make him the highest paid tight end in APY, in average pay, and cash over the next 2 years, which is a difference because he actually hasn't been the highest paid tight end in the NFL the last 3 years. I believe it's been Darren Waller the last 2 years. George Kittle was making more than him in 2023, and TJ Hawkinson was making more than him too. Dallas Goddard was right there in the Travis Kelce category. So was Mark Andrews right there around 14 million. So considering he's considered to be the greatest tight end of all time, statistically, he's the greatest tight end of all time. And even looking at his accolades and accomplishments, you would have thought that, he'd be paid as the top tight end in the league, and he hasn't been. And I did this last year, so I haven't taken into account this offseason with these stats, and I'll update them, but I want to break them out again for this specific rant. If you go look at Travis Kelce's production over the last 7 years or so, take the window of 2016 to 2022. He leads the league in receiving yards, if you include postseason receiving yards in that time span. And his career earnings were at that point around $77 million. Allen Robinson had made $95 million in career earnings up until that point. Mike Williams was right around $76 million. Brandon Cooks and Amari Cooper had made $108 and $116 million up until that point. In 2022, Travis Kelce finished third in catches in the NFL, 8th in yards, and 2nd in touchdowns. And he made less than Kenny Galladay, Nelson Aguilar, Corey Davis, Curtis Samuel, Tyler Boyd, even Marvin Jones Jr. made more money in 2022 than Travis Kelce. Since 2015, he has led the NFL in the receiving yards since then, but he ranks 20th in basically receiver earnings. If you just looked at pass catcher earnings, he ranks 20th. And all the top tight ends, he's basically, I just pointed out, he's like 3rd or 4th, even among the top tight ends in pay. The average tight end salary of the top 5 tight ends is around $14 million. The average top 5 wide receiver makes around $28 million. So the lesson is, if you can find a really, really good tight end, man, a real good one. And by the way, the best tight ends are actually, in terms of value, not only can you get great value if a tight end can give you wide receiver productivity, and then you got to pay him tight end money, that's about a $10 million difference. That's what you get in terms of the discount with Travis Kelce. But also, the best tight ends aren't picked early on in the draft. I don't know what it is about the tight end position, and we can go and try to analyze it. But if you go look at the best tight ends in the NFL in the last 10 years or so, they're all middle round picks. Kelce and Mark Andrews were 3rd round picks. Kittle was a 5th round pick. I do believe Laporte was a 2nd round pick, but only because lately teams are starting to realize this pattern with the value of the tight end position. In the last 10 years, there have been 9 tight ends drafted in the 1st round of the NFL draft. Now it's 10 with Brock Bowers, but I didn't include him in this. They combined for 0 All-Pro teams and 1 1,000-yard season. Those 9 tight ends have been drafted in the 1st round of the NFL draft. Out of the 9, only one of them got a 2nd contract with the team that drafted them. There have been 26 first-round tight ends, 27 now with Brock Bowers, but 26. So I took him out of it. Since 2000, 6 1,000-yard seasons among that group, 2 first-team All-Pros and 3 second-team All-Pros. So 5 All-Pros in total and 6,000-yard seasons among those 26 first-round tight ends since 2000. But you go look at your best tight ends, and they're drafted in middle to late rounds. So their value in the draft, and then you get another value. If you hit on one, you get another value later when you do have to pay them top tight end money. And you pray that happens, because that means they're giving you wide receiver productivity. But you only got to pay them tight end dollars, money, value. Now they're paying, well, they're paying them $17 million now, but still $17 million. The highest paid wide receiver right now, guys, is $32 million a year with AJ Brown. Come on, guys. That's I was gonna say. So JT Sanders, kind of for him too. What was he drafted in the 4th round? JT Sanders could be great value if he ends up working out. And I think he'll end up starting, but if he ends up becoming an elite tight end in the league, oh man, it's value upon value for that. So that's my Travis Kelce rant. And I've been on it for a while too, but I think now it's just a tight end rant, period. And tight ends are becoming more and more valuable, but doesn't mean you have to use a lot of draft capital to draft them really high. So there you go. Lesson of the day with Travis Kelce. Okay, another and this is another NFL story that we'll get to a little bit later. We'll get to this tomorrow. The NFL has approved allowing players to wear the padded headgear. Have you seen this on helmets? It's basically
the one
pad. It's the padded headgear, and it's basically just on top of the helmet. They've approved wearing it for games now.
Ooh.
They wear it in practice, I believe, all the time. They always wear it in practice, but now it's approved for games, and it's interesting. The NFL has changed. Even in the last 40 hours, they approved it. That players can wear these individual padded helmets in games, or at least the pad they add to the helmet in games for protection to obviously try to decrease concussions and head trauma, and that's great. But they recently said now they at first said it was going to be a team thing and teams could decide on it. The NFL wasn't going to make it mandatory for everybody. And now they're saying it's an individual thing. So only players individually can wear them if they want to. So it'll be interesting to see if individual players decide to protect themselves even more. And my belief is that the NFL players are not going to try to protect them. Some will. If they've had concussions in the past, they might. But my belief is that players are going to want the aesthetic I think aesthetic to look better, and maybe that's what they got to. But we'll get into it. I got a rant about that coming up.
I will say I think there's going to be plenty of people that want to be different and stand out, so they'll wear it because no one else is wearing it.
Just to look.
Yeah,
you could be right about that.
Because you'll look. I mean, if you say there's 22 people on the field, and one of them has a different helmet.
Yeah. No, you're right, but it's not cool looking though. No, it's like training wheels on a bike. Like,
no, it doesn't look good. I'm curious too if teams will then try and also find a way to make them look a little bit better or brand.
That's what I wonder. Exactly. Yeah. That's what I think. That's what's going to happen. I think they're going to make them sleeker and like cooler, and then like they're gonna put like a fin on there, a shark fin on them or something. Something, you know what I mean? They're gonna do something. You know they're gonna do something. They're gonna freak them out and make them like they're gonna make team. They're gonna be like team colors and like team stuff. They're gonna make them cool.
They're gonna make them cooler, and then they'll be like, well. They've actually make it worse for it now. They look great,
actually,
but now
it's causing concussions.
Yeah, it's actually hurting people's necks because it's so heavy.
No, you're right about that. I definitely think that's what it's got to go through. And I haven't seen them yet, but yeah, they're just Guardian. They call them Guardian football helmets, Guardian caps, but they just put them over the helmet, and I mean they work really well. But the NFL's adjusted its rules to allow players the option of using Guardian caps. So I got a rant about that coming up tomorrow. I'm doing some research about it. This is new school. This was not around when I was young. There was no such thing as a Guardian cap. Now, I believe most NFL teams in practice use Guardian caps, and I believe a lot of colleges use them in practice. Texas, I'm not sure. I got to go see if Texas uses. That's why I'll do some research. I'll ask to see if Texas uses Guardian caps as well.
But, I mean, I'm sure there's still a few places that have hey, man, try this helmet. Does it fit? Not really. Good enough. Go on.
Yeah, exactly. Now, come here. Let me look at you. Yeah, you're good.
Just strap that strap in a little bit tighter.
That was everybody's high school. You're good. Get out of here. Nobody's helmet fit in high school. That's how you know you're a really elite program when your helmet started to fit. My helmet didn't fit till I was like a junior, and it was like, man, get you a new helmet. I was like, thank you. The helmet always turned this when you tackle somebody, your helmet end up turning this way, looking around. All right, let's get to the break here. We come back. We'll play the game Who Said That? That's when Patrick plays a little bit of audio, and based on the audio that's played or the context clues that you acquire, you can determine and diagnose who said that. We'll play that on the other side. This is the Rodcast featuring Patrick Davis. I'm Lifetime Longhorn Rod Davis coming back on the horn. Hey, what's up, folks? Lifetime Longhorn Rod Babers here. Let's talk about Callahan's General Store. Love heading over to Callahan's General Store anytime you have any lawn or yard needs, whether it be just making sure that you have the fertilizer you need, making sure that you have all of the amendments that you need. They have everything there at Callahan's General Store. But more importantly, they have the know-how. They have the knowledge for you. So if you're worried about how you can get your yard in golf course condition, how you can help it become a beautiful, lush, healthy looking yard, our friends over at Callahan's, they can help you out. They can do more than point you in the right direction. They're not only they point you in the right direction, but they will give you the directions, right? Make sure they give you their expertise on how to make sure that your yard is looking in top-notch shape. So first of all, they'll tell you about the pre-emergence, which you can find there at Callahan's General Store. They have that there as well, Barricade from Nitro Falls, but other numerous products there too. They'll tell you about the weed and feed they have there, but also the Bermuda seed, just to make sure that you're filling in those patches where you got brown patches in your grass, but damaged by too much sun or damaged by winter freezes. No matter what the reason, my friends over at Callahan's General Store, they can help you out there. Also, they got the soil, they got the fertilizer, they got the amendments, everything you need there at Callahan's General Store. If you got the green thumb and you're starting to plant those seedling vegetables, and I don't really have the green thumb, my wife does, but if you're starting to plant those seedling vegetables around the yard, they have plenty of those as well. The peppers, the tomatoes, the melons, and other plants to choose from. Don't forget about the fruit trees. Don't forget about the pecan trees. They got plenty of those at Callahan's General Store too. 501 Bastrop Highway between downtown and the airport. Remember, every day is a great day to make it a Callahan's day. All right, welcome back to the Rodcast featuring Patrick Davis. I'm lifetime Longhorn Rod Babers. It is a top of the charts Tuesday. That's when Patrick plays jams that reach the top of the Billboard charts on this day in history. And man, nothing but bangers all day on top of the charts Tuesday. So I love it. One of my favorite musically themed days of the week. So thank you to my man Patrick Davis. Also, go check out the Horn's Twitter account at the Horn ATX in the Twitterverse, and you can go check out the big fat poll of the day. Which current player or athlete would make the best villain wrestler? There you go. So we didn't list them all, but you can list your own. Draymond Green is running away with this thing though right now, 59%. The options you gave were Aaron Rodgers, Bryce Harper, and Angel Reese. I think if you're throwing out there the Kelsey brothers out there as a tag team,
I tried to spread it over sports on there because there's too many. There was too many to name, so I went with 4 different areas to spread it open.
There you go. So that's why you're the idealionaire. That's a good point. Okay, let's get into who said that before we get out of here. That's when Patrick plays audio from the sports world, maybe beyond the sports world, and based on the context clues, or maybe just based on the familiarity of the voice that you hear, we're supposed to be able to diagnose who said that.
I was actively involved in trying to pretend we were moving forward. In other words,
that'll be the clip we'll play because the rest of it goes on for a while.
Yeah, that's Sean Payton. And Sean Payton essentially was asked about whether he was moving, whether he had plans to move up in the draft or drop down the draft, still draft Bo Nix, but drop down, get more picks, and still have Bo Nix fall to you. And he went on this long rant, but he basically said that he was actively trying to fool and trying to get the Minnesota Vikings, coax them into moving up in the draft.
Yeah, so he's the new George Costanza. It's not a lie if you believe it. He was going to pick Patrick Mahomes. He was going to win every Super Bowl that's ever happened. He is going full board on everything. He has always been right. He just has not been able to make all the right decisions. And this one, were you trying to trade up to get another quarterback? No, we wanted Bo Nix. We knew he was the guy. We're fully aware that he is the guy that needs to be the quarterback of the Broncos. However, we thought Minnesota was going to go for Bo Nix at pick 10. So we had to trick them into going early, right?
That's basically what he implied, is that he pulled the okie doke on Minnesota.
By tricking them to think that I don't know.
That he wanted, like I said, only he knows if that's true or not. I mean, how would anybody else be able to really figure that out? But I don't know. Sean Payton says a lot of stuff. He claims
Sean Payton says a lot of stuff. That's it.
Yes, but he claims that he was going to draft Patrick Mahomes, but the Chiefs traded up ahead of him.
Haven't heard anyone else confirm that. Just him.
just him. But hey, man, he always thinks he's the smartest guy in the room. Maybe he's right about that. All right, I want to thank my man Patrick. He oftentimes is the smartest guy in the room. We thank him. He's the real MVP. I want to thank you guys out there for listening. Remember, the revolution will not be televised. We're talking about it right here on the Rodcast. We love you guys. We mean that. Take care of yourselves, but more importantly, take care of each other. Peace and hook 'em.